All right, hello everybody. Training Without Conflict podcast number 16. This time I have Mia Skogster in front of me, one of the most respected trainers in the entire world. So it's a privilege that I have her here. We're good friends for a very long time. She's been here for what, like a month? Almost a month.
Yes.
Almost a month. And yeah, just watching us train and whatever. But for the people that don't quite know who you are, how many times you won the World Championships in IGP?
I have won IGP World Championships twice with two different dogs. Yeah.
And how long, like when was the time that you decided that dogs is something you want to go for, like that's your passion? Like what
Well,
was
actually, I started immediately when I was I think 4 years old. I wanted to have a dog, but my parents were not dog people, and so eventually I got a dog when I was 14 after food strike and
I like it.
and lying to my parents that Belgian Shepherds are low maintenance dogs, that they differ from German Shepherds and all kind of stuff. Then I got a dog.
So you already had your eyes set on Belgian Shepherd.
I wanted to have a German Shepherd, but my mom was afraid of them. So I knew that I must find a similar
Compromise.
breed. I must find a similar breed. And I read all the books from library, what I got, because it was time before internet.
Yes.
And then I found out that, Belgian Shepherds are similar.
Yes. As far as training, how did all go for you? When did you realize that there is, because it's one thing when you have a dog and you do some cool stuff, but then there is a point in time where you're like, okay, this can go very crazy.
Yeah. I think I already with my very first dog, I went to the field immediately when he was 3 months old. But they immediately sent me back home. They said that we start training dogs when they are 1 year old. In those times,
That's
it
true.
was different. And then I went to summer camp when he was 9 months old. And I tried all the sports there, like searching, obedience. I even wanted to try IGB, but the trainer said that they don't do this with beginners. So I tried everything else, like tracking, searching, obedience, and agility. And then and I called to all clubs and all the people who owned Belgian Shepherds, in my area.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to have a meeting because there was not much going on in the west coast of Finland where I was living. And then they set up a meeting, but it happened 1 year later. And then I competed in agility immediately when my dog was 12 months old.
Oh, wow.
Because the agility clubs, they took me in, but working dog clubs didn't. And then my dog was 2 years old when we finally had this Belgian Shepherd meeting, and then I found there trainers who did searching and obedience and IGP, and we started all of those things. And it was very clear that this dog wouldn't be highly talented for IGP because it was showline tervuren. But I trained him to become a working champion in a search and rescue sport. We have similar obedience than IGP, but then there was of course no protection part. And then I really, really wanted to have a German Shepherd again or a Malinois. And then I found really, really cool Malinois, out of Qual de Potua and Sisti de Potua. Those Boy Scout toy dogs.
The old Belgian.
Yeah, and I'm going to have a dog from this combination and so on. And so that's how it really started. And when I got Helge, I knew immediately when he was a puppy that this dog is this dog can become a world champion. And that's my dream,
right?
if I can do that.
So hopefully I'm not forgetting my questions because I'm gonna have to
Sorry,
take
my
notes.
long answer. It was just a little...
I really, this is what people want to hear. So when was that time when you realized that you actually are really good at what you're doing?
When I was standing next to you in the podium 2007 in World Championships, I was the vice world champion, you were the world champion. And I was come on, I'm here with legends. Ivan is right next to me, and there was Mario Verslip on the other side. He was the former, I think, triple world champion or something. And I was between you, and I'm my dream has come true. And if I never ever in my life achieve anything, nobody can take this moment away from me.
Yes,
That
I remember.
that
was
the
a
first
very,
one.
because we have this picture of the podium, that exact picture. I have it in my training room, and we were talking about it, about like a special time, and you changed my special moment, because it really is a much more special than becoming the world champion. Like, we cannot take away, world champion is a world champion, and especially when you do it twice or 3 times, it's not a one time hit, like you do it, right? But I always used to think that that was my high moment, becoming the world champion. And after talking to you about that moment that you're on the podium, and for me that was the same. Like you totally changed my thinking, because that was when I got second place at the world championship next to Knut Fuchs, and coming from the States. It was like, okay, we're here, right? So that's cool. Now you mentioned about Helge. What does it make? Like, we know, like we've been training for a month here. I remember us being in Finland in 1 a.m. in I don't know, freezing cold winter time, out talking dogs and doing healing. I don't know if you remember this, but we were like,
I do. Yeah.
I mean, just that's what we do, right? But how do you decide that what do you feel when you see a dog, as you said with Helge, and it's like, okay, no, he has everything, that takes. Potential, right? And there is I think it's a package, but for you, how do you, I know it's a feeling, but what is it more?
Yeah, I think it's like when we have like a dog that you see that it's very talented in protection, it has the self-confidence, it has the poise, it has the braveness, it has the courage, the grips, the motivation, the enthusiasm to do this work. And then also that I think the one important part is for me that the dog has like self-control, that he's like balanced dog. Because I think that if we really want to reach like excellent results from competition to competition, we want to have a reliable dog. So it must have also like very, very balanced character. If it's like too
he has to see the picture correctly, not just go in one extreme, right?
Yeah, because if it's too extreme dog, too low self-control, the environmental stress can affect on the dog performance. I think that there are a lot of people, different helpers, noise, all things are like different than in your training. But if you have balanced dog, it can ignore this kind of distractions. Yeah. And often the dogs who are like extremely fast, extremely like explosive, they let the environmental stress affect themselves more. So I kind of like search more for balanced dogs, and I think it's like that's the one thing. Also that we have the connection with the dog, that we feel that, I think that's also important. But also I believe that we can build, if we are good trainers, we can build like amazing connection with different types of dogs.
And when you have how do you remember how old was he when you were like, I really think we are doing this together?
I think kind of like I had all the time the feeling since he was like a little bit all the time, like since he was 3 months old when he first time took like a hard sleeve, and he was a little puppy and he was carrying it really proud, and I was like like a king, and I'm like this is the dog what I have been wishing for. But of course like I think after the the real thing, it came like true more and more all the time. I think when we had some struggles in tracking, and when we were able to solve those struggles there, it was mainly because of my own, training skills and the training what I did before for him. But when we fixed those and he did his first IGP1, I think it was very clear that this would be a dog that I can succeed. But still, like until we really did this vice world champion, results.
Yes, there is a lot of questions still.
Yes, and then it was really like this really has come now true.
What about the maturity? Because where I want to go and help at least some of the people that listen to the podcast, I don't know what your take on this is, but I find that there's this really strange fine line to make the decision if that dog's gonna make it or not. And sometimes we need to wait, and sometimes we are too quick to say, no, that's not a good dog.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And I see a lot of dogs that we just didn't recognize that they were just not ready at the moment, and we didn't give them time. Or on the other extreme, people get stuck with a dog that just cannot take them where they want to go.
Yeah, but I think it's very interesting because like with Helge, he had like a medium food drive or not that super high. He was also a more calm dog, so he wasn't anyhow talented for food obedience. Also, my skills were not super, and so but I could for sure like nowadays train him better also with food. But however, he wouldn't be a dog that would look like awesome in obedience like with food. He started to bloom immediately when I changed from food to prey when he was like 1 year old. And I did then like 3 steps healing and reward, 3 steps healing and reward, something like this. When he was like 12 months old, he couldn't do any more. And I think this is, I think that people are too focused on how good the dog looks with food, how active the dog is, like how much, energy he puts for the food. And that is not so important if you really look like...
It's just a transition stage, right?
Yes. We don't need like a extremely food motivated dog to make great results. And so I think that is something, I think the first kind of like typical mistake what people think, they are like, oh, that's a super dog who can do like super active healing with food. And I just like with all of my dogs, but Helge also like need a lot of time to like build his like fighting spirit great, and then he made like a very great progress very quickly, like after that.
How is it in the winter when you train? Like you have indoor places, right? I mean, Finland, but still kind of difficult if it's a big stretch of time where...
like tracking we can't do. So it's like we can... Nowadays we have more. We can go to even warm indoor places before we train in a cold horse training arenas. But yeah, we do like obedience, we can do protection.
So what are the benefits of training in the kitchen, so to speak? Because we all train in the kitchen at some point, right?
Yeah, I do a lot this with puppies. I think the good thing is that there is no distraction. We just can focus on the dog and also our own improvement more. But and another benefit is sometimes dogs need break. It's not about like, if we think about obedience and protection, it's more about the quality of training. And it doesn't matter if you have 1 month break, if you train after that, diligently. What I was thinking also that it's very interesting to talk about is, as a trainer, to adapt to the dog that you have at the moment and not to always compare it to the dog that you had in the past. Yes.
I think trainers just, not everybody, but you have a good dog and you always, it's like, okay, he has to become the same dog. And I think it's a disadvantage when you try to make, you almost disrespecting what that individual dog is if you constantly try to make him look like the one before, right?
Yeah, you have to I think the great trainers always adapt themselves and their methods they are using in each individual dog. So it starts even from the movements, from your praise voices, from everything. It's not only even like whether you use food or toy, and it's the whole package. And I think the good trainers are like good actors. So and then we have to have this kind of high hope attitude also, that we think that we have a dog who is talented. It's different than the previous one, but it has his own benefits, his own, talents, what he brings in. Like, for example, I think the dog what I have right now is more adaptive. He wants to do things right. While I think, for example, my previous dog who didn't want to do, he was like, he didn't care about whether I'm happy or not.
Mm-hmm.
But then he had another talents. He had really, really good if he wanted something, he was extremely focused. Nothing could ruin that. The problem was how to make him so motivated about everything. So every dog has their own things, and yeah, we have to adapt it. I think that's that's also what I love to do. I love to find, when I do this, now he responds as well. And then I feel like it's very rewarding to myself when I realize that I have now learned something new from my dog and I can make it better. And that's how he responds, because dogs are very good teachers.
Yeah. What about the methodical training? Like we have plan where we're going, but I think making the plan and that plan probably changes all the time, but how do you move forward? You got the dog, you start training.
Yeah. I think we have to first have
What's the vision? How because there is something about being methodical, but there is also something about recognizing the moment.
Yes.
And the dog says, no, let's go there.
Yeah.
And you get stuck and you don't allow it, right?
Yeah. I think the main important, first of all, is that you have a vision. You have to see in your mind, what's the end result, like how you want your dog to look at, in protection, in obedience, in tracking, and wherever you want to train him. And then you have to understand, what your kind of dog will look at its best, at his best. That you understand that even I would like my dog to look like this, but maybe my dog can't do exactly this way, but he can look a little bit different, but still very good, still get excellent results. So you have the vision, then you think the steps, how you can get there. So you have a plan, of course, like strategy, how you can reach that. And then I have some kind of milestones there on my way. I look always the progress, how it goes forward. And if I realize that we stuck longer than should in one part, I'm questioning if my method is wrong. Should I change something? Mm-hmm. If it's just that I have to repeat more, I have to train more, or I have to make decisions, and then I have to try. Sometimes we just try okay, maybe if I try that, maybe that could be something. And I'm observing
So do you say how would you describe yourself, your skill of, are you more rigid or more flexible to go around and go?
I'm very flexible to go
right?
around.
I think flexible is very important, no?
And I also I love to see other top trainers training who go there and who reach the same results with a little bit different ways, because I can always learn something. Then I can say for example, now we have had an awesome training here. I was stuck with one exercise. We talked about it. We tried something what I haven't tried before.
Right.
Because I thought that, I have already tried everything what I can from my tool pack. And then we are okay, we can try something else. And it gave immediate results. So I think it's I always but I want to always see if I'm listening advices, I want to see also some results behind them.
Rules are important, because if we don't know the rules, and if we don't watch where the competition, what the trends are, and don't understand how to make points.
Yeah.
Right? In a way it's a chess game what we do. We have to say, okay, my dog's not going to be able to sit the same. It's just not possible to sit physically the way some other dog will.
Yeah.
I'll leave that alone. I'm not going to push it, but I know where I can get my points back,
exactly.
Right?
Yes.
So knowing rules and knowing how to fight for points when you're competing.
And for giving some little, don't try to break the dog, Don't try to it's how to say, you have to understand that what are your skills, what is the personality of your dog, and then decide to do little compromises. Exactly like you said, that I can get the points, and where the big points are coming, I can focus on those exercises, and because there my dog can like shine.
Right.
And then deciding that, okay, this thing here is going to be half point away. I'm not going to like try to get that half point, in like a too obsessed.
Right, obsessed, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And then just, okay, if I lose
Because
their
it's very easy
half
to
point-
get obsessed
Yeah,
when
yeah.
something is not quite how you want. And then
Yes.
but then it's like you're starting to pocket it, and instead of making it better, you make the dog more aware that he cannot do it.
Yeah,
right?
and yeah, exactly. And then you also get more, when you get more obsessed, like when the trainer gets more obsessed, it's also that your mood is not like good for the training either.
Right.
So, and I mean, we don't talk about like one training that can sometimes go on that way, that you kind of like try to fix something and then you realize that was maybe not a good idea. One training, when you have a good basics and good foundation, it's not a problem, but then you have to be clever trainer and realize that that is not how I want to bring my dog forward. This is not good. I have to change myself. And it's also about also that we learn that even we are not always satisfied, that we learn to act,
Yep.
And I have a really, really funny example of this. Like my previous dog was not good in sit from motion. And then I knew he's going to make like a very good. And he always makes like, I want him to do like a relaxed sit. It doesn't have to be super fast. And then my assistant trainer, like there was a once a training that I told them to say super when my dog sits, or good when he sits. And then if it's like especially good, they can say like, I think super, and then good when it's not so good.
Mm-hmm.
And they forgot to say me anything. They were like talking with each other. And then I turn around and I'm like looking at them. I was angry. I didn't hear any feedback. And I'm like, was it not good? And they were like, yeah, it was one part. He did it like very good. And then I was like, then I of course reported my dog. And then I questioned myself afterwards that why do I even need this information? Whether my dog was like two-parted or one-parted or something. If I anyway, I'm going to reward my dog. So I'm not going to give him any correction. I'm just going to reward him, like no matter how he does it. So why do I need it here? And then I told next training to my trainers, like my assistant trainer, saying to me that, tell me super, no matter how he does it. Tell me always super. And then I turn around and I heard the super with a voice like super, like this. And I was so good mood. And I came back because I actually only wanted to reward him from good focus. And relax it and good focus. So I always rewarded him. And I felt so good 1 month before my trial that my dog also started to sit faster, And the main focus was actually in the focus of the dog.
Right.
So kind of like that you question like what kind of information you need in each training and when you are in good mood. And
Yes.
and no matter how my dog was, I was like, he must be super because they said super. So it lifts my mood up.
Yes.
And so sometimes, these kind of things are needed in order to actually get excellent obedience. And he did excellent obedience in his championships.
Yes, he did.
No matter with a little slow sit.
Yes, he did. That's the cool part about the game we play. Is to this kind of moment. That's what separates really excellent training and thinking and planning from just hitting a wall and being stubborn. Do you I think it will be interesting for people because many, not everybody, but many want to be where you are. That's the motivation, right? We get inspired just as it's your word, inspire your dog, right?
Yeah.
And I think everybody is assuming how you train, how I train, how somebody, very successful trainer train. And I think we don't always train the same way, but somehow, as we talked, we have a picture how to get there. And having these different flavors is very interesting. Instead of everybody doing exactly the same thing, I think we will be bored to death. To where it's like, I try something different than everybody, and then we compare, and then we share, and that's how we grow as a community.
Yeah.
And so do you, as you say, you have sometimes people to spot you. How often you train by yourself?
I think I train mostly by myself.
Mostly by
maybe
yourself.
99% I'm just alone.
Yeah, the same thing.
And yeah.
So what about then, do you, now that we have phones and it's so easy to make videos, like how much do you watch, do you film your training sessions?
I would
And do you see any importance of that?
Yeah, I think it's really, every time when I have a chance, I kind of give my phone and I'm like, please film my training. If we have like more people, I always ask them to film my training because I just love to watch it afterwards. I can see some little things there, especially from my own handling, that I can improve. This comes, of course, even more important like later when we prepare our dogs for the competitions. But I like to see, there are some things that I can't see, like how the dog sits, for example, or how I stop, how I use my legs, for example, like leg work, hand work, these kind of little things when I'm preparing dog to competitions. I like to see it, and it's kind of like, yeah, of course, a lot of things I feel also when the dog is next to me, but I like to do it.
And it's different when, like, you see him here looking at you, but it's different when you see him from the side, how he was doing. It's like, and then you see yourself, it's like, no, I could have helped here, right?
Yeah,
or so you do film.
Yeah.
And the next one that's very interesting, and I think it's interesting not just for me, but everybody, how often would you train? And does it matter, like training, like the difference between having a young dog versus older dog, and you're at home and you do your normal stuff and you're training. How often, how long the sessions?
Okay, the younger the dog is, the shorter are the sessions. So usually it's like 2 minutes with little puppy, 2-3 minutes only, I think, when I'm training with food.
Mm-hmm.
But I do it like 3 times a day, like some little things.
So that's kind of like the kitchen training we're talking
about.
Hey, let's have some fun.
Exactly. That's like when he engaged with me, and I want to like teach him like the healing position and stuff like that. And then immediately when I know that I have reached a limit what my dog can do, let's say that my dog has like learned to seek the right healing position, he has learned to do the healing already head up in the right position, I stop it and I can have like 6 months break from that particular exercise. And I can wait that his drive develops, he plays well with me, and then I can come back for these basics what he already has learned. Mm-hmm. So I don't just train because I think that I want to train, kind of, I always think that what my dog actually has to learn, and because the time is very limited, so I have to train the right things, and then I can focus on something else, and then and then I can have easily when I'm traveling and I'm traveling without my dog, then he has, of course, break from training and so. But yeah, it's so. Then when the dog gets older, his energy level gets higher. I can already play with him more. Of course, then the training sessions come longer. Mm-hmm. And so. But even then, I can decide that if I just want to build like more energy to one particular exercise, I can just train that and make it very short. Or I can decide that now my dog needs to learn like duration and like keep on going. So sometimes I'd make it on this way, and it's.
You like to focus when you take the dog out to play, to train, right? Focus on certain exercises, or you're trying to make a whole picture? Because sometimes, there's trainers that teach pattern, and it's like every session it's like very robotic like, and there is trainers that just work elements and then here and there put them together. What is your
I go more in the beginning for these, like I teach like all elements separately first, as perfect as I can, And then I start to put them together as a pattern, like a competition pattern.
Yeah.
And then when I'm preparing my dog to the competition, like when they are like 2 to 3 years old, something like this, of course, depending on each dog's development. But then I start to already like do more longer sessions, and I'm also introducing the pattern for them.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, I can break it and decide to just, if I have a problem in one exercise, I can just focus on that one particular exercise and so on. And then I can
bring it back in.
Yeah, exactly. So it's varying.
When you train, which one is like, if you are to say your top 3 big of importance in your training, like what is number 1 thing that you would want
Emotion.
to have?
I think the emotional stage, like the emotional.
The interaction between the two, or your.
I think that there are like 2 things. It depends on the exercise. So in some, I think for me the most important is that the dog is like, his emotional level and his arousal level is exactly the right, like for each exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Because in different exercises you want to have like a dog in different arousal level, in different emotional stage. And like for example, in the long down, we want something else than in the send away.
Yes.
We want a dog who is like, not thinking anything.
So you I do like, like I always, at least in my head, divide them in passive and active exercises, and then they have different elements to where it's like, okay, if I need active and I'm doing training, then I would do the active stuff in the beginning of the session, and then I would do the down. I will introduce later on. Everything mixes up, but I generally would like to do the long down after the dog is already trained and he kind of wants to lay down in some ways. Mm-hmm. Do you kind of separate like this? Do you play like this or no?
I can also like in the beginning of like long down, I can train that like a bit separately. That the dog would be focused on me. Sometimes like that he kind of understands the exercise, and later on I can train it like as the last exercise. Sometimes also the first one, of course, because sometimes we also need to introduce the young dog naturally, that you have to stay here like when even in the beginning. But yeah, it's like it's like a varying very much this. That sometimes I do like. I feel that now I need to focus on making when I want to like stabilize a certain emotional state, for example, the retrieves and send away. So that's for sure that I don't train first healing then I just train like retrieves and send away. That he's very fresh. He puts all the energy what he has on those.
Right.
Because I want to have like really good returns and very fast send away, that he's not tired. And then when my dog like sport condition improves and he can like his duration gets better, so his physical condition, his mental condition is like stronger, then I of course sometimes can do like the healing pattern, sit down, stand, recalls, then retrieves and then send away. But I don't too often do the whole pattern like that. Mm-hmm. I often like split it. That I have like retrieves and send away. I have healing and sit down, stand motions. And then, just to make sure that my dog is like not too often too tired when he does the retrieves.
One of the cool things that I've been watching you do is the very initial, like the very first moment when we say, let's go on the field. Like you take a very good care that the dog, when you go on the field, he is in the right mood and the right motivation. And then things go right.
Yeah.
A lot of trainers neglect that, going on the field, thinking that once on the field, as they start healing, as they start doing things, they kind of progressively get better. But the dog is not 100%. And I think you're very good at how you create it. And I'm sure with every dog is different, but there is this moment that I'm sure you take time. Otherwise it cannot happen like this. But when you say let's go, you have
there.
undivided attention and motivation from your dog.
But that is very nice that you say this, because this absolutely is something we have to train for. Like we have to train it. It's like not naturally built in any dog, because obedience is not so natural, of course, like tracking or protection is more fun for the dog itself. And when, for example, my young dog, what you have seen now here, was younger, he was like 6 months old, and I did like seminar in France, and I had my dog there with me, and we have just trained like, protection, a lot of protection with him. Every time when I went to another field, I always did protection.
Mm-hmm.
And then I informed people that I'm very sure when I come here, my dog is not engaged with me. So I don't start to do healing, even you want to see me doing the healing. I'm just focusing on like engagement, and I just come here like to tell him that if he looks away, I will give him feedback. No, you shouldn't watch away. You should watch me. Wow! Then emotionally, I like make him feeling really good of that, and I play with him. And when I get him engaged, maybe I will show you one healing.
Right.
So that first thing is like this, that I teach him that no matter what my dog expectation is, you first, if I tell you it's obedience, then focus on me, and then we have a lot of fun. So I give him a lot of feedback, both positive, also negative feedback if he's like thinking of something else, because we know, I'm sure you agree with me, that when we have high-driven dogs who are brave and interested in everything what happens around them, we just cannot simply wait.
Yes.
And let them decide what's good to do, because they can choose so many things around. And so I'm doing this, and then he improved very quickly, and I went to a lot of like places with him. And I told always to people, even I came here, I first introduced, I told to people that I come here to do just engagement, when I did in a seminar, like the first healing session. But I felt immediately he was there. So
Right.
I could start the
It's a
healing.
good feeling, right?
Yeah, it's perfect. It's so perfect feeling, but it comes like after we have trained it for the dog. We have to train first the dog to focus on us. So simply task the dog can for sure do, like eye contact, like a face-to-face. Super reward from that. And when I feel that even I put the toy away and I move a little bit and the dog still keeps the eye contact, when I have this feeling, then I can start healing.
And in a way, you are creating that desire and believe in the dog that they can almost like push you towards, I'm ready, let's go.
Yeah, it's more
right?
like, yeah.
Instead of the other way around.
Yeah,
As
yeah.
a handler, I'm ready and you let's go, right? That's
Yeah. I want my dogs to say, like, it's so important for me that when I hide the toy and I put it like invisible in the pocket, that my dog is like keep on the eye contact. If I move, he's like, I want to do it, and he would like to go to my side, and I'm a bit like preventing him, and I say, not yet, okay, so that the heel command is like connected. That dog connects it like, and conditions it that it's like a free. Okay, I let you do that. That heel is like free.
Yeah.
Free, heel, okay, and he really wants to push me to let him do that.
So when you, like I sometimes struggle with this when I give seminars, and you give plenty of seminars everywhere. This on its own is so important and so critical. But when you're in a seminar environment, people want you to go on the field and you want to show the healing and everything, but that preparation moment of the dog wanting and being ready and being focused and being in the optimal mindset for work, I find that very difficult for people in a seminar environment, because they feel that this is not what they are there for. They want to see, how do you do the healing? How do you teach the sit? How do you make the retrieve? And this gets totally kind of left aside, and it's so important. How do you go in your seminars to tell people that that's a big deal.
Yeah, and I think normally I don't have my dog with me. So normally it's just like video presentations, and I'm like explaining this there. But when I have the dog with me, it's so important that I love my dog so much and I love my work so much. I don't want to spoil it just because people have wrong expectations. So they have to first of all understand that young dogs, they will not see errorless training. They will not see something me doing like, like a 5-year-old dog going to the championships if I have 1-year-old dog or 2-year-old dog. And so I want to be very honest with them and explain them and I think that it's good to explain them before I even take the dog, that this is what you should expect. And then you will see how I interact with my dog. And that is the most important thing, I think, to even learn, not exactly like how the dog, how the healing even looks like, but don't expect the healing. I will show the healing if I can. And I think they have understood it nicely when I learned to explain this beforehand. But I think this is something that people think that when you are like a world champion trainer, that your dog will look like a world champion when it's 1 year old, which is completely false.
Yes.
I can make we know this, in the Instagram videos, we can make it super cool. And my dog can look like 16 weeks
30
old.
seconds is very easy to make.
It's super easy. It's completely different to do it at trials. That's why I always want to see the dog in the trials. And
now that you touch the internet and the social media training, how do you feel I mean, there is the benefits, of course, of being able to see so much, but how do you feel about the Instagram moments of, okay, well, this is a good healing, this is do you feel the training community benefits, or it's a little bit of disadvantage when they watch this kind of videos?
I think it's both. The good thing is we can inspire people, of course, by Instagram. We can show good work. I'm also thinking it's a bit disadvantage that people, they kind of they maybe think it's too easy. They learn that because nobody shows errors in Instagram.
You're right.
Struggles and everything what we all have to face in order to get where we want to. And also when I posted a video of my dog doing 16 weeks old, a perfect healing with a perfect position, and he was only able to do it with no distractions in my home field, and I couldn't even go with a strange field, I don't even know if he would play with me there well, because his prey drive wasn't yet that open, and sometimes I'm thinking that it's making people believing something fake, and then in the seminars I always explain that this is the perfect Instagram video, but that's how we really do it, and that's how we really reach it, and so that people don't they have started to learn too much this kind of errorless training that I don't want to make any mistakes. You will do mistakes, honey, so just take it as it comes, and then we can fix the mistakes.
Mistakes are part of learning, no? I mean, it's very easy to navigate. It's okay, that's a wrong way. That's what we like.
Yeah.
Versus focusing on the right way. I also am so big on trial and error. I think it's okay, well, that didn't work, did it? Let's see how we can make it better.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that when you mentioned before about we all aim, of course, to train dogs very conflict free, and what I think that the good trainers like you and all the people we have had here, like this weekend, it's the good thing, even we have a bit different approach, how we with our the methods, and so how we go there. But the good thing is that we are all very much focused on emotional communication.
Right.
We are good at that, and that is something what you can't learn in the books.
Yeah, it's making the dog truly believe that they are capable and that they are successful.
Yeah, and you can make like the dog believing that you are proud of the dog, and they can
Right.
feel the pride in your voice, and they can feel the kind of happiness. If you want to make them more delighted, you can make them feeling calm. And it's like how you play with your voice, how you interact. And I think that this is what I really admire in all good trainers, that that's the key.
It's there.
of-
It's there. Yeah, that's very interesting that it's,
And I think this is like, and I think that people should focus not so much like the technical way of teaching, like a healing, for example. They should focus on more like how we interact with the dogs, how what our body language tells to them, how we talk to the dogs, our timing, of course, but it's much more than just timing. And I think this kind of like when you have these four quadrants, and this kind of behaviorism, it never gives answer to all learning, because dogs can also like model and copy humans. They can feel emotions, and that is something important we have to like. In addition, I mean, there are a lot of things we can learn from theory, but then there is also a lot of things we can just learn by, trying and watching how the good trainers are doing it. We could learn so much by that.
Yeah, it's a that toss-up between theories and hands-on. And hands-on, it's, in my opinion, it's so big. It's like sometimes I would go, I don't know, in any country, anywhere, and I would look at somebody with just a dog, not doing any sports or anything, and they have that thing between them and their dog, just because they like the dog and the dog likes them, and they have come to some agreement how they do things. So even if they go to the park and play ball,
common language.
you see that, and I think this is, I think we all have it inside, but when we think, I'm going to be this big trainer, we neglect that part of being yourself and really looking at the dog as your buddy, as your friend. It's like, hey, we're going to figure it out and we're going to make this. It's not necessarily let's go that system and we go strictly to where it becomes so artificial that the dog is like, that's not fun. Like, you're not having fun with me. You're just making me do things. And then we end up where I'm going with this is the kind of circling back to where we were. Creating a dog that wants to versus making a dog do. And they both have the place. But a dog that to create that dog to want to do things with you, to really be like...
This kind of seeking mode.
Right? And then we are at times, no, you have to do it this way. But if we start with you have to, then it's very hard to make the dog want to, right?
Yeah. And I think like when I saw the book in your library today about Jak Panksepp, and he talked about this seeking mode, that what is very like pleasurable itself. And I think when I train my young dogs like to learn new things, I'm aiming for this kind of like, the dog would be like, oh, you have, like the handler has something what I want. How could I get that? And I'm like, yeah, you have to keep on trying.
Intrigue them.
Intriguing, like, and it's like they, and when we get our dogs to this mood and they're like, oh, I have it here, and how could you get it? Oh, you can seek
really
the right position.
Like even when during the seminars and everything, when you start doing this and you're explaining it to the handler and it's their dog, and you start talking like this, and the dogs get so intrigued by you, and I mean the handler, the owner becomes almost secondary just because you bring that curiosity and that like, and they're mesmerized, like, oh, I want to do things with you.
Yeah, because like no matter what's like our like with humans we can talk, like we have the language, we talk English, we talk Finnish, whatever, and you understand my words, but dogs are very good in picking up like emotions. And so if I would talk to you like right now with this kind of like very boring like driving instructor voice, it sounds like it has its place in the dog training, this kind of good boy, well done, like that. But if I want to make the dog more exciting, I intentionally change my voice. And I think if we play a little bit with, ooh la la, I have something what you want.
Yeah.
I have the food
Yeah,
here.
there you go.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, I really want to have that, you know. And it's not only the voice, it's my whole expression with the body also. I can raise my eyebrows like, ooh la la, if there's a camera or something.
Yes, and they
become feeling that emotion. They're like, oh, she really is like excited.
This is really special.
Yeah, she really has something. And also when they come with that, it was not my intention to give all of that to you, but you were so greedy, so you got it. And then all these things has its place, and that is something what I like what I think that what I would wish that in scientific researches they would like a little bit more make researches about this.
Yes.
Because we dog trainers know how much and we have already, the science has already proven that dogs have emotions and emotions are like mirroring between humans and dogs. But still actually like how many dog books we have about that how would you do that?
True.
What kind of emotions the dog can actually feel, and how can you help your dog to become more engaged with you if you learn to like play with your voice a little more and with your body. Yeah, I think that is something, and that's why I like, for example, I wrote a book about this in Finnish language. Now we have translated it in Finnish.
Tell me a little bit about the book now, because now that we mentioned that.
Yeah, it was like I want to write a book about like my way of communicating with a dog. So I like explain like 6 different praise voices there, how we can like communicate better with dogs generally, like how we can use the body language, how we can interpret dogs' emotions, and then become like every day a little bit better dog handler, because it's something that we never become perfect. But I think that it is something that when people would so this book is just about emotional communication with a dog, not like teaching like how to train your dog to do like a perfect healing. Because if we have this really good, like I think that all the really top level trainers, they have it like naturally. But in the seminars, the time is limited. In the private lessons, people are very focused on fixing
a particular something.
Yeah,
right?
fixing some problem, fixing some issue. But so often we will say, hey, but you have to first learn to communicate with your dog better. And then we can come back for this problem, what you want to fix. And so it's more about like this. And so, yeah.
So when you started writing, I'm sure it's different for everybody. When was the moment when you said, okay, I think I have enough now that I can make that book? And how did you end up writing the whole thing?
Oh, yeah. So it was like this, that first of all, I wanted to write the book like a long time already, but I never had time. And then one of my friend who is like, she's an author, she has published many dog books, and she knows the kind of publisher in Finland, and she has been talking with him, with his publisher. And then she called me one like gloomy November, day, like, would you write a book for us? And I'm like, okay, let's make a deal. And I signed the papers, and eventually I found myself, I had like a 1 year time. But of course I found myself that 3 months before the deadline, I really have to do that.
Right.
And then I was writing it like days and nights,
Did they already give you some money ahead of time or no?
No, they gave me the first money like when they get the script, But it was
with my first book, they gave me 5,000, which was quite a bit of money in the 90s.
Yeah.
And I was cornered. I had no way to, now I've already spent the money. I'm like, I have to make this book now.
Well, I have the same idea that, I have the contract. It's a deadline,
Right.
I must do it. And I just like went to my friend's like summer cottage, like for 3 days when I started. And I'm like, oh gosh, I have to get it done. But eventually when I started to do that, it went like the first the first maybe 30 pages were the most hard, like when you were like everything. But then it went like I knew what I'm gonna write. They wanted to have originally more like a theoretical book about like how to teach a dog to do like a recall. And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna.
Book of
and
dog
I wanted to
training,
write a
yes.
book about emotional communication. And then we came off like they liked it like eventually how it was.
Yeah.
But I'm like, we have already books about like
Plenty, yes.
yeah, but we don't have books about this. And that's my special way to do it, and I want to like explain it to people because people are asking like, what's your secret? Well, that is my secret.
Right. Yeah. Very
So
true.
now it's in the book.
Very true.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to finish it?
Well, it was supposed to be like I started like September, and I have the deadline like in the end of November. But eventually, I got it like 30th of December, like after Christmas. I got it to the publisher, and then we still like made like little changes there. But yeah, but it was good, and yeah.
So now the book is ready for English. It's translated already,
it's
right?
like I haven't seen yet. It's like it came from from the printing company. Like it's now in my house. So when I fly tomorrow to Finland, I'm gonna see it first time in my hands in English.
And you will send few copies here.
I will definitely do that.
So how once the book was done, were you happy with what you did? Because that's a hard one always.
I was super happy. Yeah. And I think it was like, it has been a book that people who have read it, they said that they have been laughing, they have been learning, and they have been crying. So it has been interesting because we added there like some stories about my dogs and my life too, to make it a bit more like light to read.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is important for for.
And so and I think then it's nice. Yeah, like that. It raises emotions too.
Did the seminars, giving so many seminars, how did that help with the book? Did you already kind of had the outline, or you had to sit down and really make the outline of the book?
I think like all those seminars, all the people I have ever met in my life, like all of them have helped me to become like a better trainer and helped me to understand what the dog trainers actually need.
Right.
And I had the feeling that people don't know what they actually need. They are like, they think that they need just help for the exercises, but they would need like, this. And then, and all like my online like lectures, all of these like kind of like, it was like easy to make the structure for the book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also when you have to, when you actually write this book, it also helps you in the seminars, because eventually when you really have to think how you write it down, when you explain it to people and you have to make it like a shorter version of it, it helps you to also like be a better teacher.
100%. Yes. Yeah. These are the steps for me as well. Like, once you start teaching and you're teaching, and somehow the more you teach, the better you become of knowing how to give the information. Just as you said, like sometimes people really don't, they want this while they actually really need this. And seminars help you become better. But ultimately, there is a saying, and I'm going to butcher it, but like any time you are a good teacher, writing a book makes you, it just skyrocks your abilities. Like you become better version of yourself after writing the book, because you put so much thinking and evaluating what you're doing, and you get more clarity of why, right?
Yes.
So when you, like, another one that it's always of interest, we all like different types of dogs. And sometimes the type of dog that someone likes, it's not your type of dog, right?
Yes.
And it doesn't make it a worse or better dog. It's just not your type of dog.
Yeah.
So like, what is the type of dog that you go, I like you?
For me, is like the first and most important is self-confidence. I really like dogs who are like like self-confident in all situations, you know, that they are like a robust, brave dogs who like to
Explore and
challenge themselves, but you know, who are like very confident,
right.
and like you know, like and I also like social dogs that who are like so confident they don't have to like all the time think that, oh, if I like you or if I don't like you, you know. They are like very confident in all environments with different people. They like to meet and mix. It doesn't mean that they are pleasing them. It's just that they are confident.
Yeah.
That's like the one thing what I always look at. The confidence, braveness, self-confidence. And then of course like dog who is like, it has to have some motivation to like fight. I love dogs who like to fight, like play, fight. And who like to challenge and
yes.
enjoy like challenges. And who don't only want to get a joy to themselves, but they want to continue the game.
Right.
Yeah, that's like another thing. That's like my type of dog. So already when I see that, that's for me like...
What about male-female thing? Is that a thing to you?
Well, I would love to say that it doesn't matter the gender. That I think more about the individual dog, but I actually have always chosen males.
You end up with a male.
I end up with males. They are often a little more dominant, like more, how to say, more powerful.
Yeah, it's
protection.
that testosterone.
Yeah.
I think it...
And I think a good female, like a breeding female, and what is a good female for the sport, sometimes we have dogs who can be both, for sure, but we more often have females who are a little more like, how to say...
softer type or no?
I would say that they are more like the aggression, what we want to see in like protection is often coming out a little bit from the insecurity. And I wouldn't consider them to be so good like breeding females, like not so stable, but they can be phenomenal in their protection work, you know? Like the kind of dogs who are like showing the teeth, they are very active in their barking, but still they are very quick and fast. But that doesn't... I like more like balanced dogs. So I would, in the females, I would go more for the balanced type of dog, you know, who is like... And sometimes we can have dogs who can be both, but we have rarely, like more rare of those. So we have more like... I think the females who can do like high points, but then they are a little bit on the edge. And then I think that for the breeding, I would always look for the female who is like more social, more like kind of confident. But with the males, you can have them both more often in the same package because of the testosterone, kind of like, you know. But then we also have some females who can be like, So it's like I'm talking a little bit myself now, like a circle. But I hope the people will understand what I mean.
Just like what we have right now. I mean, over this few weeks that we've been training together, there is quite a few females that you see, and I mean, Natalia's dog is a brother. I mean, you bred the female, and she's that kind of female that is like, okay, you want this, bring it on, I'm here. And then there is the other females that we have to make them believe that they can do it, to where the dog, that the female that has it is like, yeah, let's go there. If you want to go there, let's go there, right? And that's the cool part of but it's true with females, it's a little bit not as common. And
what about you?
It's a very hard one. My very first one, it was the Dioputua dog, and
I mean, I love your young female, what you have.
Yes, but she's also still related in there, and that's kind of, you know, they're still that same, they're coming from the same gene pool, right? So it's like, I didn't know that I'm gonna train her, but now I cannot not train her, right? Like, how do you not train that girl? But like it's a very interesting thing with especially the Belgian dogs. It's very intriguing to me because they, on one hand, the Belgian ring people, the really classic old school Belgian ring people, all their concern as far as breeding is to be a good mom and to come from the right genetics.
Yeah.
But they still produce a female that you can make sport, high level sport. It's not just
I think the most actually, like, I haven't seen many females that have really gone to my heart, but the ones who have done that are coming from the Belgian ring lines.
Yeah, I'm almost convinced that I don't know what it is with the Belgian ring sport, how that program makes the selection of a dog.
Yeah.
But in some ways, in my opinion, it's the best selection.
I really agree.
Right?
I really agree.
Because we have, like, let's say the Germans have the DMC and they have the Kyorong, and somehow they're two different types of dogs, right? Like it's and not that the one is better than the other, but it's a different type.
Yeah.
And that Belgian program
has something in it.
I'm so glad that we still
have
that, right?
Yes.
It's like that should never go away. And
I think it wouldn't be the sport I would do, but because I'm so born to this IGP,
Yes.
I was, that's my sport, but I still like very much respect like what they have done and how good dogs they have produced for us over the years.
Breeding is it's always interesting. And how many breedings you've done so far?
Not so much. Like I have, I usually breed like whenever I need a dog, or like one litter in like every second year, because the dogs are living inside my house. And I'm always excited to do that. And when the puppies are like 7 weeks, I'm like, I'm so done because I do my best. But it's more like that I'm happy they go to new homes now.
Yes.
And it takes time for me to recover. Again, to do my best after 2 years. But yeah, I have like maybe like with my current like kennel name, I have bred like, I don't know, and then also with my previous, I was like with my previous husband, we bred some dogs, so maybe about 150 puppies, something like that, but not so much for sure.
One of the hard ones for me used to be. Now, because I think it still would be difficult if I breed something outside of what I know. Mm-hmm. But I'm pretty good at telling right now. But I used to make a lot of mistakes of selecting. Yeah. Like I would always, and we're talking way back when I started breeding, and for quite some time after, somehow I get fixated on a dog that was showing so much as a puppy, and I would miss the actual really good one because that one was just always in your face and you always see that one. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you say, yeah.
And how confident you are when you make a breeding to point out the different, so the really not so confident, those they're kind of easy, but then they're not, because sometimes something snaps and here I am, I'm ready now, right? Mm-hmm. And
I can hear what you say, because I think it's like that what I have learned, like how to, for example, select a dog like to myself from the litter, like what I have learned, my mistakes and everything, would be that I would look more like for the balanced dog, like who doesn't show, like, how would I say, who has nothing what irritates me. Let's put it in that way. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't have to be the best biter. He doesn't have to be the best eater, but he should have like nothing extreme, nothing also on the other side extreme. kind of like the balanced puppy. I think they have
Right.
often been the best ones as an adult. But also when selecting dogs, like for breeding, like just like when you make the combination, I have done a lot of also there like mistakes. I always wanted to have like a very strong dogs for breeding, and I thought that when you select the best, for example, female, what you can have in the litter on the field, that this would be the best female for breeding. And then I used that for the most dominant, strong, robust male I found. And then, and I had like another female who was, for example, the sister of that best female, who was actually like, just like a balanced, more balanced dog. And I used it for the same male. And the puppies were like just better.
Right.
Not so sharp, not so not so super high driven, but just like more kind of clear in the head.
Reactivity level is
Reactivity
different,
level
right?
was like exactly like that. And they were actually like, I think like more like a better puppies.
An experience I always pays attention to those reactivity kind of behaviors and how I like it. It's like, I've learned that before.
Yeah, exactly. And then also about the dominance, I think that when we are like what I found out was that it's not only about how dominant the dog is or how strong the dog is, but you have to give also a lot of like attention to the self-control, impulse control, you know? And the dog is not too impulsive. We need like impulsive dogs. They cannot be too low like impulsive either, because otherwise they wouldn't react to anything.
Right.
But if it's like, if the dog has a very, very like, that actually breeding is much more than just like we cannot have so simple personality traits for dogs. You know, like high drive, low drive. No, we have to have it more like that. It's about how much prey drive fighting spirit the dog has, like how much motivation to play the dog has. But then there is also that how confident the dog is. There is also the self-control. Then there is like, and that is very important part there. And then also like how well the dog is like reading the social cues from the human, how much he wants to interact with humans. Because before I was like, there is no dogs who are like too dominant, you know. And I think still that there are not dogs who are too dominant, but it depends on the other personality traits what this same dog possesses. You know, if it's like a super dominant dog, no willingness to cooperate with humans and difficulties
what I call
to read.
them like a little bit primitive type of
more like a wolf
I'm
type.
on my own a little
wolf
bit.
type of dog who don't like the oxytocin doesn't like burst in their brains when you praise them. They're like, you're like, oh, super, and they're like, what do you want?
Yeah,
you know, that type of dogs,
which are very important to still have
in
the gene pool.
Yes, we need also those. But then when you have like that kind of characteristic, like combined with high dominance, like desire to control the environment, which is different than fighting spirit.
Yeah.
Just controlling human and all the environment. And then also you can have the same dog can have like a sensation seeking, you know, like he wants to explore, like the rats who are like the bravest ones.
Yes, more alive, more curiosity of life.
Yeah, they want to go, what's there going on and so on. And then low energy level to anything else than fighting. And like there can be so many like traits that actually affect how trainable the dog is. And I think in dog sport we often use so like we talk too simply about dogs' personality. Because we can have a dominant dog who has also high willingness to engage or like high energy level.
Yes.
And if you have high energy dog with high dominance or low energy dog with high dominance, it's completely different.
It's a different type of machine.
Very different type of machine. Exactly. Yeah.
What about that's another big one, I think, among dog sports people. How do you allow your dog to interact with other people? How much you interact with other people? Like where do you stand on this?
Yeah, I like to make my dogs like confident with people. They can like take contact with people in a normal life. I like to them to be very social, because the more confident they are with people, they have to feel that humans are like friendly.
Yeah.
I don't want them to feel that humans are enemy. You know.
Yeah, I
It
feel
also
the
makes
same.
them like more confident, I think, and it's also better for them because it makes them like, you know.
I think they learn from those interactions, right? It's just
Yes.
overall, oh, these
Yeah.
are humans. This is how this human and this human,
Yeah,
right?
and of course, when I train my dog, then he should only interact with me. But outside the training field, I want to socialize them well with humans. I don't socialize them so well with other dogs, because I only have like a one dog at home, but I also give them like good experiences with some friendly dogs. But if I walk with them, I don't want them to say hello to every dog what we see
Right,
on the street,
right.
because they have to also learn to pass them and not get like too excited about other dogs in every situation. But yeah.
How do you feel about the endurance part and just like the outside training behaviors, but just maintaining some endurance and stamina? Do you do anything outside, like treadmill, swimming, like any things like that, more specifically, not just for fun, but like actually because you want to?
Well, I believe more like the sports condition. Like that if we train the sport, the sport itself increases the condition of the dog. But outside, I go running in the forest. I like my dog to get a lot of like free running without leash, so they can like relax the muscles. It's more like relaxation than actually building the condition. So we can go like, let's say 12-kilometer running,
Yeah.
something like this. And I try to do this like,
Man, 12 kilometers. That's a good run.
yeah, but it's more like they are free. They can
Sure.
trot. They mainly trot there. They can sniff things. They can
Yeah.
gallop a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's more like this. So this I do, but I think that this kind of like explosiveness and the sport condition comes here. So that's how I have used to do it. I don't want to say that I'm not an expert of this area. So that's how I have done it, and it has been, I think, good for my dogs.
I think the forest brings a special thing also between the bond. Like I think going out in the woods with your dog hit some natural instincts, and you and the dog kind of become closer because of that genetic instincts of, okay, we're in nature and we're together and we're like you and I, right?
Yeah.
There is something like this, I think.
And it's very relaxing, kind of.
Right.
Like the dog can also feel more like freedom, and so I think it's like even in the big competitions, like in world championships, I really like to go like long walks, like the one day before the performance. I usually don't train anything if I really don't have to.
Right.
And I just go like a long walks or running for a few hours, just to like let them like, you know, getting exercised, but still like nothing what brings like mental stress, but releases the stress away.
How do you handle the days before competition?
Like myself.
Yeah, like just, I mean, the whole thing of, okay, should I train? Should I not train? Should I leave it alone? Should I, this? I mean, I'm sure you have this.
For sure. But I try to like, okay, first of all, because I
like
want
how confident you are in what you've done up to that point, that, okay, it's showtime.
I'm actually rather confident with that. I'm often thinking that even I'm nervous, I try to always come back for this, that my dog has been prepared well. He knows what to do. I'm not gonna like ruin it by just training because I feel nervous. So I try to like train the things what I think is necessary for like maintaining my dog. I don't change anything usually in the training, and I give like I try to keep my dog like fresh, but not like undertrained. You see?
Yeah.
Like in this way. Yeah.
Line between warming up but not going deep into
like just like a regular training, exactly like I do always, as same as possible, and then just give my dog like a few days break before the actual performance if needed. And then I'm nervous, so I want to talk. I want to talk a lot. And I want to go through these kind of things. But I make sure that my dog will not listen to my conversations. So my dog
That's
is like...
so funny.
Really...
I do the same thing.
Yeah.
Like Natalia, like she knows there is times before competition that I talk.
Yeah.
Just like this. And she's like, okay, there is Ivan now. He's in a competition mode.
Yeah, but it's really important that my dog is in the hotel room and we go to some restaurant and I keep on talking there. And I want to be super merry mood in front of my dog, that I don't show that I'm disappointed of anything, and I don't want people to talk, even the topic is nothing about dog sport, but I don't want to talk about politics or nothing, so that my dog can hear that I get like too excited or too nervous or something.
So they pay attention.
Yes, they do.
They pay attention.
They do. And even when I'm sleeping and I don't sleep that well, I'm like, I can't turn around now in the bed because that can wake up my dog. I just keep pretending I'm sleeping.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you get more nervous now as the next dog comes, that you have to, because once you have the name you have, of course everybody has the expectation.
Yeah.
How do you handle that?
The better you do, the more they expect.
Right.
Yeah. Well, actually, like, I think the worst ones for me was like the first World Championships when I couldn't eat for 3 days. I was just like drinking water. I was so nervous. Exactly in France.
Yes.
Yeah. And now it's better. I can already eat. But I think it's more like about now I have also more tools to like handle my nervousness. Like I warm
Give
up.
me some tips. I need that.
Well, like for example, like, okay, I talk with, like you do, yeah? So that my dog is not hearing it. But before my performance, I have found out that when I physically exercise, I got this tip from the theater world, that when I make myself like sweating, so I make like some, like running, and I open my, especially the upper parts.
You change your physiology.
Yeah. And then I'm even like feeling a bit exhausted, like 10 minutes or something right before my performance, when my dog is in the car, like waiting for his performance, so he doesn't see this. And I open my voice, and this helped me a lot to just like, when I take my dog, and then I have, of course, some mental things too. And I'm sure you have competed like way much even more than me. So also like that I trust what I'm doing. I have my like little things what I do before I leave the house, and
there are some superstition
exactly
moments,
that makes
right?
me feeling so much better.
Yes.
Yeah, like I have always the champagne in the cold, waiting for opening it, and I have like the certain.
Or after, or sometimes before.
I put it before to the cold.
Okay.
I never go to the stadium if I don't have my car fridge and the champagne waiting for there. And I go like, and I make like a little bit space for the, like I have the trophy stand at home, and I'm like, I make space for there enough. I can bring a new one there.
That's cool.
Yeah,
it's a whole vision you're creating.
And I have the feeling if I don't do that, I don't believe what I can do.
Right.
And then when I get really, really nervous, I always think, and I'm thanking for those who never believed in me, and I'm thinking that I will not show them that I can't do that. I must do that, And I just like, things just help.
There is a interesting fine line between being overboard confident in yourself that doesn't, but if you don't have the confidence and if you don't believe that you can, then where are you going, right? Like it's almost doomed before you start.
Yeah, it's kind of like a joke with our friends that we do that. But on the other hand, we have to keep it as a joke that people don't think that we are like cocky.
Right. Right.
But on the other hand, it also makes it I have the feeling, if I don't do this, it's like I wouldn't believe I can do that. So, yeah. So there are like little things like this. And then I think the most important, actually in training wise, is that that I just act like I have learned, I think dog training is like an acting. So no matter what my dog is doing, I'm gonna show that I'm like super happy, even I wouldn't be like super satisfied
And
or
it goes
something.
still back to the how do you walk in?
Yeah.
Who walks in the field, right?
Yeah, and the dog must feel you are confident.
Yes.
You know, the upright body, how you walk, how you present your dog. And if you have practiced a lot of patterns and you know the rules where you can lose the points, so you have practiced already so many times how you handle without losing points for external body helps. So it's so much more easier to do actually the way how you used to do it than just changing it for the competitions. And also the dog feels you more confident. I think that's also something important, that because I know some people who are like, I don't do this at the competitions. Then why do you do it here?
Right. Out of the 3 phases, obedience, tracking, protection, because we both do IGP, which one is the most nerve-wracking, the one that you just,
Obedience.
Obedience is?
It's the most important for me too. It's because in obedience, you can do so many mistakes. You know what I mean? Like it's so much more about your handling. In protection, I mean, it's more about how your dog interacts with a helper. You can have, of course, like you have to also go through your handling, but your handling is very small there.
Mm-hmm.
And in tracking, your dog is behind, like in front of the 10-meter line.
Yes.
And you just have to hold the line.
Yeah, tracking for me, I think, is probably the most like, just because you kind of feel, you just, here we go. It's all up to you, buddy. I just keep my fingers crossed. In obedience, I feel if I screw it up, if I fuck it up, I put pressure on me later on. But in obedience, you're way more in control.
Yes,
and
you are.
If you have the good mentality, you can manipulate your performance.
Yes,
in obedience.
you can a lot. You can affect so much. I think like when you say it on that way, I would say that tracking is what I'm afraid of the most.
That was my point.
Yeah, because tracking, you never exactly know how the surface will be, and
too many variables.
And you can't do anything. It's just like your dog will do whatever you have taught him. But in obedience, you can affect. But I think like that, I'm more or most concerned about my own handling before obedience. I'm really prepping myself for that I'm going to do it on that way. I go it through in my imagination, like before I even take my dog to the field.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to I split it to simple parts. Actually, it feels not so difficult. I'm going to do it on this way. And that's how I react if he does this. That's how I'm going to react if he does that. So
and then there is that recovery when something doesn't quite go the way you want. Nobody else sees it, but you know that, man. And now the next exercise comes, and now you have to switch and forget what happened wrong, and you need to give 100% on the next thing, right? That's a hard one, like to not to get shaken and disappointed at the moment of performance, and to be able to, okay, my sit was okay. I'm not gonna dwell. I'm not gonna now for the next 5 exercises think about my sit, how bad it was, right? You have to have that ability to keep moving on to the next one and focus how to make the next one better. What do you think of where the sport's going? We're changing a lot. It's been changing. I mean, it's constantly changing. Like from when I started, comparing it to today, it's almost a very different sport. And there is good and bad things, in my opinion, of the direction we're taking. But if we break the obedience, for example, how do you feel where we are going? Because I think judges and the trainers, I'm not going to even say. I just let you hear you. What do you think of where we are today?
I think the cool
are we going in the right place? Where are we going?
I think the cool thing is that we are like giving more attention to the dog's emotional state. That the judges would educate themselves about like what is the right emotional state. What I don't like so much is that if if some judges and also some competitors are focusing too much about speed, because it's never about the speed, it's about the emotional, like because you can have a super speedy dog, but still the emotional state is not correct. And then you can have a little bit less speedy dog, but he wants to do it right. He just physically and he's more balanced dog or
very
something.
Clean performance of the behaviors, right?
Yeah, and you can see that the dog is still like very open, very like you have to look more if the dog is feeling like good instead of concentrating on the speed. But still we of course want to have like not just dog who want to like feel good but not putting energy. So it's kind of like a fine balance with them. Of course, because no sport performance can be done if we even don't talk about dog sports, but nobody goes to play hockey by, I'm just happy to shoot around here, the puck. There must be the determination to do it right, and the techniques and everything. But I think it's important that we find the right balance and we understand that that we look the emotional state and how the handler is working correctly and everything. But and also like how to say understanding a little bit like better the dog's personality and what is like good enough for excellent. That we don't kill the good dogs on the field just by expecting even a little bit more. It's like with long attacks or anything else too.
Yeah, true.
We can have the dog who comes the same speed all the time, comes with a very full grip, but we can have another dog who comes like even speedier. But it's not a competition of the speed. But I think it's like a lot of handlers should also educate themselves with the rules a bit more, and also judges, that we understand better like that where the points are coming, like you mentioned before.
The speed and the flashiness, but not sacrifice precision.
Yeah.
And then
the confidence
and the confidence too. Yes.
Yeah. Like the dog can, it's also like the confidence and the ability to focus. I think that's something what I really actually would like to say is that, like when we look about the dog in the trials, like in obedience, we need to see dogs who are able to focus on what they are doing and not just super speedy who are like all the time looking around, We need, because that is something so important that we don't need like hectic dogs more. We need dogs who are like willing to do what we ask from them, but able to like focus and concentrate. Because if we lose this one, what is left? Nervous,
Yeah.
Nervous dogs, yeah. So I think that is something that the dog.
You feel judges are getting better at that? Better meaning like reading the dogs and knowing, because they are the ones that, like it or not, dictate where we are going.
They do. And I think, yes. Also, I have been like seeing recently like one of the very good judges like working, and I think that they have been talking about this, because I think there was like a moment that like after 2010, I think it was like, wow, we can have like very active dogs, very energetic dogs. And then people didn't give attention about this kind of like looking around and hecticness. And so if the dog just was fast. And then I think that now we have come back a little bit for this, that hey, we actually need dogs who can be calm, who can focus, who don't whine, and who can still perform powerfully. And I really love this, that we have been even, starting to focus on this more.
So you like where we're going?
Well, of course, like, but we have to also remember that I have seen like competitions like with very good judges recently.
Right.
So like our national championships, for example, we had a very good judge there. He's going to judge also in FMBB. So kind of way I like it, that many judges have been now at least talked about this, that we shouldn't like only focus on the speed and that's a good thing, but still keeping this emotional state like there. Yeah.
How do you feel they, like, I mean, we all feel the pressure of different animal groups of what is the dogs under too much pressure and what is, but how much do you think those groups influence where our sport is going, and should we follow everything that they want to see us changing?
Well, no. I think it's somehow especially important in our sport that people should understand that these dogs we train for this sport, they love fighting. That's their life. Like, they like to take the challenges. And so I think that, for example, when we talk about like a stick hits or something, for our dogs that love this sport, for them it's just like a challenge. They enjoy of that. They are waiting for it. It's like, give me more. I'm going to give you more too.
Yes.
And so, and somehow like this is something what I lack of understanding is that why we don't go and show to the politicians, show to the people who don't do dog sports, like, look at our dogs, how much they like when I take my dog from the kennel before I brought it like to the field, he was so happy. He was like jumping around, and he was like, let me go there first. Now I'm like, we have to go to pee first, and he's just like, it's like extremely happy. I never see him so happy ever before,
Yes.
And he's gonna get in the training field, like, the helper is gonna challenge him. He's gonna like, hit him with a soft stick, and he loves it. But so it's like that people shouldn't think dogs as a, like, even with humans we understand that we have different personalities. Some of us like different sports.
Yeah, we like figure skating, and somebody likes ice hockey.
Exactly, and then and they love it, and some don't. And we have the same with dogs, and we should never train a dog to this sport who don't like this. And we know for sure dogs but we can see it even before the stick hits. We say, oh, this is not the sport for your dog.
Yes.
And he will never learn to love it. And then we have dogs who just love it the most of their life, like that's the best thing, like what they can imagine in their dreams. And I think that we just should like more educate people what we are doing, instead of trying to like say, oh, we don't do this anymore because somebody says that it's harmful for the dog. And
I think we starting to understand that it's important to educate and explain what we do. Yeah. Because otherwise we are leaving it to them to come to their own conclusions, and they're so wrong about what we do.
They are. And I think we also shouldn't leave it to the clubs. We should actually like unite dog trainers and start this kind of like a worldwide movement, like what they have been now doing.
What is starting right now.
Starting right now, that we don't expect that somebody else always does it for us. Because they don't. It has to be us who react on this and show how much our dogs love this sport and how good it is for our dogs and to our relationship with them. And I think this is something what I think we should like fight more.
Yeah, we have to. If we don't, we will just keep following the demands that they put.
Yeah.
To where ultimately we will change the sport will not have the element that we like and the dogs like. And what the dogs like is the challenge of competition.
Yeah, and you have this book in your library called like Flow from Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi. It's something like Csikszentmihalyi, about the flow.
Yes.
Where in early 1970s he was actually like making researches about humans' motivation, and he found out that the humans were not the most happy when they were just like calm and relaxed, but they were the most happy when they found the flow state, which means that you have to have a challenging task. You have to feel that you have everything what it takes. And then you have to feel some like disappointment on your way there. And then you feel like so great when you can accomplish that.
Yeah.
And I believe I'm
getting goosebumps because I know that's the whole point.
And I'm the true believer that when we talk about working dogs, it's exactly the same to them. Like they don't live to be happy on the couch like their many force-free trainers think, that they are just like super happy when you just make them calm 24 hours in a day and you overfeed them and you just make them like walking silently in the garden. No, they are the most happy when they have a challenging task.
And a purpose.
Purpose.
Overall purpose in being.
And they need to have like the feeling that sometimes it doesn't go right.
Yes.
They get feedback. You need feedback to find the flow. And when they really find the flow, that's what they find. They find it in obedience. They find it in tracking. They find it in protection. And that makes them the most happy. And I believe that they are much more happier than if we would just
walking around the block on a flexi
Exactly.
and feed and sleep.
Yeah. And I understand that we have some dogs perhaps that the life is already so challenging task for them. They are so fearful that you just have to make the life more calm for them.
Very true.
But our dogs, they don't need ever depressive medicines. They don't need that because they are so, they are brave dogs who love the life and they love to challenge themselves. And that's what makes them most happy.
Very good point. This is the stuff that need to win, like our community needs to bring up. Like we have to be on a mission to educate and explain that. And because they, you and I know the arguments they have. They will be like, oh no, you're selecting them purposefully to be doing this, but ultimately if you didn't, they wouldn't want to do it. And this is all inhumane on an even deeper level than the training because you're breeding them to be these dogs.
We are breeding happy and brave dogs who enjoy the life, which is much more human thing to do and more ethical than to breed dogs who are so fearful that they get like broken if you say them no. You see my point?
Right.
And I think it's so inhuman and so unethical to breed dogs purposefully who are like already so fearful that you don't ever have to even like anyhow correct them. Because if you have a dog who loves the life, who loves to explore things, for sure you must say them sometimes, no, you can't do that. But on the other way of hand, they are like, okay, well, give me what should I do then? And then you just like,
and even like to go further with this, even with those shy dogs, it can be, I don't know, golden retriever comes to mind, but probably not any dog that's not necessarily a Malinois or a shepherd or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's a little unsure. Even these dogs, they can do a little bit of obedience and protection and tracking, just like an insecure kid that goes to the gym and does some martial arts and feels comfortable and confident with themselves, right?
Think about children. We give them sports because that builds their self-confidence. And we all know that if we just try to keep children sitting all day, and especially when we have like dogs who, children who have like some hyperactivity, and we just like try to keep them calm. We even know from those interventions of the child education that they are more happy when we include more sports to their school program. Even that helps them. Yeah. And also when you have more shy, we give them like hobbies. We try to like encourage them to be like more brave. And there are like a lot of biological factors that are similar with dogs and humans, even we don't humanize dogs. But this is one of them that we do exactly the same. We give them like mission. We give them like sports to do. And we give them resilience.
Sometimes the kid, your team lost. Not everybody
can always win
every day.
It's normal.
This is life.
Yes. And that's how they get like, this, there was this kind of, like a psychologist, who talk about like he called it like, how to say, curling parenthood.
I've heard that.
Yeah. The curling, like when you smooth the ice, that the puck can go exactly. like. Yeah, and they found out in many researches that those children who never felt any adversities in their younger years, they actually have they have much more bigger frustration, much more bigger problems in their life later. And I believe it's the same with dogs. I mean, I have seen it like so many times that dogs that you are like afraid of like ever disappoint them.
Yeah.
they have much more like bigger problems when they become adult. It's normal to say, oh, you can't do this today, but instead I help you to find out the right solution. And they learn to trust us, they learn to overcome obstacles, and they have much more happier life. And then we can also use more emotions, make them more happy, make the life more exciting, because we can control them.
There is a book I always recommend, and like at my school, I it's one of the recommended books.
Yeah.
Punished by Rewards.
Yeah.
I think Avin Cohen or something like this, and we can post it in the later. And like the main takeaway from the book was that in humans with children, which is translates immediately into dog training, is that sometimes we fail because we are reinforcing, we're giving a reward to a kid for doing something that the kid already likes to do.
Yeah.
And as we reward them over and over, they start to now tend to do the thing that they originally loved to do.
Yeah,
now they're doing it for the reward that they're getting from somebody. And focusing and allowing them to creating something that, hey, you like doing this, let's make it even better, instead of sidetracking them to, oh, let me give you money, let me give you new phone, it's like...
Yeah. I know what you mean,
right?
because that was exactly what I did with my first dog, with my very first dog when I was 14 years old. And I was like reading from the book that every time when your dog does like a poo outside, give him a treat. But before I read that book, like I read it like when he was like, I was all the time constantly like reading the books, like, and I remember that first he was so happy to come to me and I just praised him. I was like, yeah, you were super nice, super good boy or something. And then I started to give like treat for him. And then I suddenly realized after like 1 week that he wasn't anymore so happy about my praising. He was just like expecting the, the food. And he was kind of like, and kind of like, and then that was the first time when I realized something, that rewarding the dog, like by treat, is not always solution, you know?
Yes.
Kind of like, okay, it's a bit different thing, but I understand exactly what you mean, that sometimes, and he was like, kind of like expecting this and doing it only, but not because of the, it's yeah.
I think it's like in training, when we build that expectation in the dog, okay, you gave me command, give me my reward. You gave me command, give me my reward.
Yeah.
And we take away that interaction and enjoyment of just you and I doing it.
Yeah, the engagement,
right?
The kind of the fun to interact with a human and just love to do cooperation together. And I think it's like we talked before that like how to build, for example, the dog in the stage that he's like, oh, I want to come next to you. I want to do the healing with you. I want to look at to your eyes. And when that's the best reward, of course, we also can reward from that, and especially when it comes like harder, longer, and everything later, So we also maybe have to have the end reward, and the end reward doesn't only spoil the joy of doing it, but if that's the only reward, and we don't think about emotional communication at all, then it's a bad thing. So it has to be like the interaction and training must be fun equally with the reward.
The same thing even when you give the dog the ball.
It's not only the ball in the mouth.
Oh, I have my ball. Or you can have it, hey, I have my ball, let's go. Right?
Yeah, like, you have the ball. Wow, we can both be proud of you. Look at what you have. Instead of just like, give the ball, toss the treat, and then wait again. Like it's like erasing something so important from the training.
I just thought of like I did this one time in a seminar. It's a very cool story. To show how important it is, the emotion and who you are at the moment when you interact. Like I don't know where it was, but I had person after person after person just saw like, okay, I'm giving you the treat, so you should be happy. I'm like, man, this is not working out. What do I do? And of course, I picked up a social dog that I can handle. Like, I will make your dog way more motivated and more intrigued to work with me for rocks. And I literally went outside and grabbed kind of bigger rocks so he's not swallowing them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and sit. Oh, there's the rock. And he's like, what the fuck is the rock? I'm like, no, let's play. And he's trying to whatever. But now you have this dog with a tail and everything. He's like, I
want to work with you.
Like,
yes.
It's no, you cannot count on that magic of that hot dog or the ball on its own. You have to be present and real in that interaction.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know, that was a while back, but I just somehow remember it. It's not the presentation.
Yeah,
you know.
But it's like with people. Like if we go to, let's say we go to a restaurant, and there comes a waiter and he gives you the perfect meal what you want, and he gives you the perfect drink what you want. But if it's like a very nice waiter, or he or she, they can be like very, like how are you?
Right.
Here's the food. Did you like it? And he's smiling to you.
Or even more, like they're like, oh, you made a really good choice with that, what you order. Versus like, oh shit, you ordered this.
Okay, thank you for your order. Yeah, but because we are social beings as like humans, so we like the interaction. And if everything is like the food was good, the drink was good, the service was very comfortable, you feel that you are like at home, you feel like that you are appreciated and there is an interaction, it's so much more.
And you can forgive a lot that didn't go right.
Exactly. Like maybe your steak was like medium plus instead of medium rare, but you are still like, but they really understood me.
Yes.
And I think dogs really want that the handlers and the dog owners understand them. And if you can give them this feeling that I got you, she really understands me. I'm the special boy here, And that's what makes their day. And also it makes our day so much funnier to also as us for trainers than just like tossing the ball and be like,
right,
here's the ball for you, fools.
It never works. And we see it all the time. Oh.
Yeah, it's how it goes.
How about anything, pick anything, and you're running into problem? The dog is not clear. Mm-hmm. How do you, any specific strategy more general than the specific behavior? How do you handle when the dog is clearly like, it's not that, it's just a confusion. Maybe he's getting it, okay, I think this is what you want me to do, and it keeps doing it over and over, but it's not what you want him to do. Do you isolate? How do you work with problems?
This depends.
In general.
Yeah, this depends a little bit like always in the situation. So one can be that do the dog has like other chances to do it? Like, how to say this? When we have like a young dog, let's say that the environment is like we are inside the house. There are like no distractions, and I have a dog who wants to try again and again and again. I can ignore it and let the dog try again because I know that he will try again.
Yeah.
And then he can succeed, and I can reward the behavior what he tries. But then we can have in another environment where we have like a lot of other possibilities to do it wrong, and something that how to say. I usually give feedback, and the feedback means that I'm like thinking it a bit on this way that I can either give feedback, which means that I can give positive feedback and negative feedback. Like don't do that. I don't want you to do that, but I can do it in different ways. I can do it in a way that the dog feels it like a punishment, or that the dog just feels it like a feedback. Because if we think what the punishment actually means, it means that we are adding something uncomfortable for the dog's life. Yeah. So the dog must feel like unpleasant after I use punishment.
Yes.
But if I say just like, no, don't do this, like no, like this voice, for example, I popped a leash, like, hey, don't do this. But this dog is like, oh, what? And you can see from the dog's eyes, he's more like, oh, what do you want me to do? So it was not something uncomfortable. The dog didn't feel unpleasant. It was more like stopping his behavior and say, hey, pay attention. And the dog was like, oh, oh, what do you want me to do? And I can, oh, look at me, do like this instead. And I can reward him then, of course, after this, or I can give him a new mission to do, like sit or jump again or whatsoever. Let's say the dog is like jumping over the hurdle and he touches the hurdle and I'm just like, no, come here, let's do it again. And the dog is then feeling a bit, that's more like a punishment because the dog feels like, oh, I didn't get my toy, which I expected to get, yeah? But then let's say, and then I do it, okay, sit again, jump again, and now the dog jumps without touching the hurdle, and then I reward him. So this was more like a punishment because the dog felt it like, oh, you didn't give me something what I expected.
Right.
Yeah, he gets a bit disappointed, but not so badly. And then I erase the bad emotions.
But it is important, right?
Yeah, it's important.
It's important.
I can't reward him from all behavior if I want to improve some other behavior. And then another situation can be that my dog heals, he's very active, he's very good, but something unexpected happens, a noise, for example, outside, and he looks at there. And I can turn right, I can make a little pop on the leash, so the dog is like, what? And he looks at me, I don't say anything because I don't want to increase some negative emotions in him and make him feeling unpleasant. It's more like, pop. And he's like, what? I'm like, wow, that's exactly what you should be doing. And I praise him and I reward him. And this is more like a feedback. He was like, it's more like if you watch it there and I'm like, hey, look what's there. There's a rainbow. And you're like, thanks for showing me this rainbow. I wouldn't have noticed. You know, so it's more like this. And then and this is what I do like in some situation. And I reward my dog. But then let's say that after my dog already understands this and he's very, very good, I can also make it one time if the dog like still keep on doing, sometimes he looks around in the healing, I can make it a bit more stronger so that the dog is like, I can make a right turn, one pop, and the dog has already come there, making one more. And like, wow, now, so there was a little more slighter, like, there was a little unpleasant feeling for the dog, like, which took like 1 second. And then I can make a super reward for him after that. Yeah. And then that's more like, hey, I don't want you to do this again if I want to add it more unpleasant. So it's possible to do it like one day for the dog to like stop completely the dog doing the mistake, what I want him to like stop doing. And then I want to increase his good behavior. So you see my point here? Yeah. So there can be like different ways of like interacting with the dog. I have to always I always aim to be very fair for the dog and always like not punishing him when he wants to do the healing, right? He loves it, but he just still thinks that some kind of distraction is more intriguing.
Yes.
And then one day I can say, hey, this is something I have told you now a few times, but now we have to stop like reacting of this.
You have to take it out of his mind.
Yeah. And then it's like very clear, and then the rest of the dog's life usually it's like I don't have to do it again. He chooses like, oh, actually that was not something that I want to do, and that is something that I really want to do. But first he's of course motivated like a couple of years for this, so it's very simple choice for the dog. You know, it's like with humans, you know.
Tell me about the school. Or is it a school? How it's like online lessons you do, right? Or you have what?
I have done like online lectures, some of my own dog training videos where I like explain why I'm doing this and so on.
Like if somebody wants to go into it.
Yeah, it's like I'm like now when I wrote the book. So I'm gonna do like more online online courses in the future. So we're just like opening it like we will change some things because I felt that people need to have a bit more like interaction, like more. So we will do like 4 weeks courses, like how to become like a better dog trainer, like how to use your emotions and so. And this we will start like in a few months, and I think that I will change a little bit more for this direction. So we have we have some online lectures there and some videos available, like hundreds of my own dog training videos available. But I think we will go more for these online courses. Yeah.
Do you like the seminars, like going places, or you would rather be home?
Well, actually, like I I'm a very social person, so I also like love to meet people, and it's nice to go to see different dog cultures and interact with people. But of course, like now I have a young dog, and I also want to train my own dog. He needs me, so I'm gonna focus in the next few years more my own dog training, and I will do a little bit more online training than live seminars because my dog needs me.
Yes, the new dogs are coming. We're gonna be on the field back again.
I'm so looking forward for this, and I'm so happy that we all have like now like so many like cool young dogs.
Yes, and that's the I think the very interesting part of the what we do, because we are not the same people we were.
Yeah.
And we train and we improve and then we meet again and then again, and this is the most interesting part of the whole thing.
But it's also interesting that we often see the same people there again and again and again. But it's also that what I want to see also, like, if I can say like one thing for like beginner trainers who maybe watch this podcast, is that look our emotional communication more than our technical details. Because once you can communicate emotionally well with your dog, you can mix different methods, always what fits best for your dog. But that's why we can always bring our new dogs there again and again.
Right.
And like how many times you have been there in the World Champs?
I don't know, a lot.
Like
some record probably.
Yeah. And so it's like, and why you can do that is because your emotional communication is so clear, and dogs can really read you, understand you, and they want to work with you.
You know what's the coolest part for me at the championships? Of course, watching the competition. It's interesting. Sometimes I watch, sometimes I try not to because it kind of messes with my mind. But I really like watching training the day before, like the practice. What do you call it? The general practice. Yeah. I think that's one of the coolest thing to see. And it's not like you're trying to, obviously there is not much that you see of the training secret, so to speak.
Yeah.
But it's how everybody feels at the moment before competition and what they do. It's super intriguing. Like I whenever I can, it's not so often because of course we're busy trying to prepare our own dogs and staying whatever. But every time, just sit down on the bleachers and watch that practice of different teams. For me, it's just as equally interesting as the actual competition.
Yeah.
Because then you're like, okay, I see what's up, or I see how you feel, or and there is this thing about training that's always interesting when you look so good in training and somehow you just cannot put it at the time when it's important. And that means your training is not sound because you're training for the training and not for the actual show time.
Yeah, there must be something like too different in your training then. Because to be honest, like if I think about like my competition performances, my dogs have always done exactly what I have taught them to do. They haven't been like really big surprises, really.
Right.
I mean, if there has been something, and there has been, of course, I don't mean that my dog have been like errorless in competition, not at all. But all those things I could have predict to happen. And it has been very clear why did it happen, why the dog did this mistake. And also then it's easy also to fix them, But it's not something that my dog just does some random weird things, in the competitions.
Correct.
It just does.
It's this thing about training for the competition versus training to look good in the training.
Yes.
And it's so tempting to look good in the training, but you know that everything revolves around something that the dog has, he cannot take it on the competition field, and then they feel like lost. And the trainer at that point, it's like, well, then the different excuses come.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
But never come to that conclusion that I'm not really training for the competition. I'm just training to look good at the training.
Yes. And like my worst training maybe ever, or it looked not the best for sure, was like before I did like 100 points in obedience with Helge a long time ago.
Yes.
And not that I was like super happy myself even, like I don't believe like generally that it was my best performance though, because I saw all the mistakes. Like
yes, because you're here.
Yeah, and I kind of felt like things that wasn't visible in the videos later, but I could feel like I like some other trial like better personally, but it's still like that my training, they never look like completely faultless, you know.
Right.
Sometimes I can do purposefully like training that everything goes like super fun because my dog needs it just to boost the confidence, and now we don't look any errors. But also those training sessions where we have the mistakes, they are needed to improve the behavior.
Yes. What I find problem, and it's not even just for our sport, but for all dog training going on, is that as a community or industry or whatever you want to call it, dog trainers are just like with any profession, you know, like you can have a hairdresser that should not be a hairdresser, gonna just burn your scalp 5 times, and eventually, you know, they should not be practicing that. And we have in dog training bad training going on in some places, and it's it almost so frustrating and it's sad at the same time that because somebody does something really shitty to a dog, it translates to everybody else, and I am now put in that same position as I'm one of those people that do these shitty things to dogs, you know. Mm-hmm. And we have no structure and no way of, and I'm not even thinking, I don't know, maybe policing each other is not a good thing, because then who is the one to say what is okay and what is not okay? Mm-hmm. But I just hate it when somebody sees something on YouTube or Facebook or whatever, and being ring sport or IGP or any training, and it's like, oh, look what they do, and then make that grand conclusion that this is what everybody does. And the one side is us educating what we do and how we do, but we never, at least I don't think anybody ever has the courage to kind of say, well, publicly, we talk amongst each other, but to say, hey, this is not right. We don't support this. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like this, I think if there was some way that this can happen, I think we would be better trainers and we would protect our sports. Yeah. And even more, it goes even deeper than this, because you have trainers that do this kind of stuff, and for some reason many other trainers think that this is actually what we should be doing. So it's almost like, oh, I'm also very hard on my dog because that's what we do. It's like, that's not what we do.
I think the biggest problem what we have is this, that when we talk about dog and human relationship, it's like with humans, there is like no one similar relationship than the other. So every relationship, every connection is unique. So is the dog training. Like they try to divide always like the bad and the good, you know, right. And that the force-free or the force trainers, for example, that's not true. Like there are as many training methods as we have humans in this world who own the dogs. And even each one of those human train each different dogs like differently. So basically like we have millions of ways of interacting with a dog and not just 2 ways, you know?
Right.
We can do so much bad. Just we all good dog trainers, we know this, that if we wouldn't use, for example, any physical corrections, we could just really damage dog like mentally,
Yes.
like how you call it, psychologically.
Yeah.
It's like with humans.
Psychologically, we are foreigners, so we say P in front of
yes.
psychologically.
Yeah, exactly. We say like obviously, no doubt. Okay, so no doubt we will do that psychologically. We can damage the dog really hardly, by just like not rewarding them when they expect that, and just like being wrong in timing, not using emotion when we should, just giving the treat. That can be also very damaging, like in many situations. On the other hand around, we also have like trainers who can use like very, very hard physical corrections without the dog understanding it, and we can also damage the dog very badly. But it's the same like with humans. We can mentally and psychologically damage a human even more than physically sometimes. You know, we can make a lot of pressure.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, like taking their freedom away. There are a lot of things for that, and I think that's the first thing what we should understand, that it's not only 2 ways, there are millions of ways. So even the people who train very similar than I do, even they train a little bit differently.
Yes.
And so that's the first thing. But I kind of like, I really understand what you say, that it's hard to like stand up for something like what's like acceptable to do and what is not acceptable to do, because in the end we should always aim to look for the good for the dog.
Correct.
And think if there are better ways to train this particular dog, like more dog-friendly ways, we should always go for that if possible. But then there are also some situations where we know that there is no other way to fix the dog's behavior than kill the dog,
Right.
you know,
Where
euthanize him.
Yes.
But if we can solve the dog's problems with physical corrections, for example, then we should go for that way, because the death is always worse
Yes.
than fixing the dog's behavior and then give a good life for the dog. So they're like, it's a kind of, there are like, ethics are very difficult topic to discuss about, because
The force-free idea is such a good intention that goes awfully wrong.
Yeah.
I've had like sometimes like and it's hard to post people's videos. You just never want to do that. But I recently had some 2 trainers, I wouldn't even say male, female, from another country, and they sent me a video of a dog, and it's like, hey, we're like really doing all force-free, and they were doing a downstay with the dog. And I don't think even was for any sport, or might have been, because I just saw that short video. And they were so proud that they don't use any aversive, nothing, it's force-free. And the dog looks so miserable there. Like he looks like it's been just so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But the fact that there is no physical, that that it's force-free, they somehow
explain themselves.
Cannot see that the dog is like really not in a good place.
Yes. And I saw exactly the same. Like there was like a Finnish kind of like a PETA organization. It's called like Right for the Animals. And they published a video how the dog training should be done instead of like physically like correcting the dog. And they used like a Malinois, and it was obviously, I think, some foreign trainer who did it. So it was not a Finnish trainer. They have taken it from some video bank or somewhere. I don't know where they even found that video. But this person was doing like down from motion with the dog and using this kind of like a touching stick or something like that, And the dog was like, the whole body language of the dog was like so unpleasant. Like you could see that the dog was feeling pressure, and the dog was like ears behind and very closed, going down. And I'm like, couldn't they found like any better video of promoting there? Because if my dog would ever show that emotion in the training, I would feel so bad for my dog. No matter what's my even training method, but I would see that the dog is not enjoying what he's doing. And they just couldn't see that. So the ideology goes like in front of the dog's like real emotions, you know? Like
Yes.
And that is something what we should always, I think we all actually aim for the same goal, kind of.
I was just going to say, yes, we are truly wanting exact same thing, but we are so disconnected of you are the bad person.
Yes.
And it's like, come on.
Yeah, and we actually should we should talk more together. We should like interact more, because the more we would do actually like a real life interaction,
yes.
we could maybe, because eventually we all want that our dogs feel good. Yeah.
Yes, ultimately we are really.
But dividing people, like that's how the war propaganda works. Ultimately,
Right.
It's like that you have to make the enemy like faceless. They must be so bad people that they must be kind of like killed, because otherwise people wouldn't be able to kill them. And the same is a little bit now when we have this kind of war between like, you know, trainers who are, you know, use like sometimes corrections, and then people who are like, we don't ever correct our dogs, whatever they do. And it's not good for, ultimately it's bad for the dogs. The dogs are suffering the most from this. And I think we could actually learn from both sides some
there
things.
Is knowledge all around.
Yes.
All around.
Yeah, and we should respect always like more and interact more instead of like dividing people.
Like in our, like in the States, there is, you know, there are a couple of organizations, or maybe there are more, that, you know, they're the force-free, like the one is that APDT.
Mm-hmm.
And they do really anything possible to bring a very high wall between. It's like, if you want to join our organization, you cannot have this equipment, you cannot be this kind of trainer, you cannot be balanced, you cannot whatever.
Yeah.
It's such a wrong strategy.
It is.
Like, bring those people in the way they are, and then show them something better, because who is that trainer that if you show me something good, like let's say, I always give this example, let's say just as we're right here right now and we watch some video and it happened to be in Hong Kong, and we can recognize something new and something interesting, we're gonna want to know, right? We're like, how do you do that? Let's go to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Or let's get that person here. We immediately interact.
Yes.
And when we put this wall, it's like, well, no, you're very wrong, but you cannot come in because that's inclusive for only force-free. If you want to gain our hearts and bring us in, show us. I'll gladly do the best I can.
Yes.
For my dogs. And I don't see any person that... Exactly.
Yeah, we are very keen to learn. And I think, you know, if you want to believe in science, well, what the science says about learning is that we humans, we learn the best in a positive, encouraging environment, you know? When we feel like safe, in psychologically safe environment, we learn the best. And I really lack of understanding that if this is the best way of teaching dogs and humans, why don't we use that way of teaching humans to learn like better ways? Why would you ever choose to teach a dog by pushing him first down, showing how stupid the dog is, showing how wrong the dog is doing, and then start to bring the dog like step by step, like, okay, because of my mercy, I can show you something new. you wouldn't, because you know that your dog would be forced to learn that, and it would be never really like desired to do what you want. And then I'm really lacking understanding why would we do the same for humans, because ultimately Skinner, they were like, and those people who were like making those researches about animals, they made it to benefit humans. You know, what we can learn from animals, we can actually use with humans about learning.
Yes.
Yes.
That was the whole point.
Yes, it was a whole point. So I'm lacking understanding, like, because I have learned, like, how do I became a world champion was like participating to all top trainers' seminars and trying to learn. I always look the best part of their work and trying to learn from them. And every time when I have a chance, I do this. And no matter about the sports, I have invited to Finland like obedience world champions, like FCI obedience world champions, to give seminars, and I have learned from them.
I actually gonna have a podcast with her. I'm not gonna give the name right now.
Yeah.
Or should I?
Yeah, you should.
Eric says we shouldn't. We should keep it a surprise. But I one of the
Yeah.
But this is the thing. It's collaboration. We have to collaborate
and respect
we have to,
and learn.
Yes, and it's not about my way or the highway. It's like maybe it is your way, but if you come up look down on me and say, well, science says, I am like, okay, science says, but let's go and do. I want to do it that way. And now you are like, no, you're already a bad person. You cannot change. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
That's it cannot be more wrong than that.
No, I mean, that's like so the wrong approach. And yeah. And I'm really willing to like interact with different style of trainers, you know.
And somehow we always find a good way when we're like this, when we're not on the keyboard, you, but we actually say hello, hey, I'm Ivan, I'm Mia, and next thing you know, we have common grounds. We all like dogs. We all look for the best of the dogs.
Yes,
and that's already a perfect start.
Yes, and it could lead for so many good things.
How do we break that? That's it's a hard one. This one and the other one where you like every once in a while some crazy stupid video with somebody just helicoptering a dog. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And on top of what are you doing? It's like, don't put me in the same
like don't
bag. Like I'm not that person.
And it is so unfair to expect that because somebody else does something, you know, you have two hands. There's another person who has two hands and does something really bad with his hands to the dog, and expecting that you do the same with your hands, right?
Right, exactly. But there is so many good things in everywhere in dog training. Like when you think about 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, like we are progressively getting so good. And there is who knows where we're going to be in another 10 years as far as how we train. But we have improved so much. And we are so aware of appreciating the dogs and the dignity of the dog and you know.
And you know, like when we talk about the hands, which can do good things and bad things, and even we would see a person who does some bad things with their hands to the dog, then instead of like going and saying like, oh, you horrible human being, you shouldn't do that. Instead of that, we could go there if we have a better solution. Yes. We could say, you know what? I would have a really good solution to do this like better with your dog, like, or not even like saying it on that way, but I can say, I have a solution to this problem to solve it with a way that your dog feels better. Let me show it to you. Would you be interested in that? I'm pretty sure that if we really have the solution to do it better and we can show it to those people instead of like judging them and humiliating them, we could help them more.
Yeah.
I mean even like there have been like a lot of like researches about like I think even like people in the prison that who have done some obviously bad things in their lives to the other people, and then if we actually, instead of like thinking that they will be like convicted for the rest of their lives, if we try like re-educate them, showing them a better way to, you know, handle those situations and giving them like a purpose of their life and so on, they can actually come back and be much more like better, like integrating for the society.
Right.
Instead of just like saying that, you know, you are doomed for whole of your life.
And the sooner we do that,
but we have to have the solution
out. The more we are like, no, you're a bad person. Then what else do they have?
Yeah, than to be a bad person and continue that. But I think the most important is to really give the real working solutions, not just giving them like empty hopes, you know.
Yes.
You have to give like what to actually do. And that is something that what I'm missing like so much, like for example in my country, that when we try to educate people like about ethical dog training, is that actually show videos how to do it. Show the real life training, how to do it better. And then you have to see the results.
Yes.
You know, and not just like talking about some abstract things. It has to be like real solutions.
How often do you go and give seminars?
Like last year, I think I did something like 25 seminars.
Which is crazy. I used to do so many too. The reason people invite you for seminars is because they see something special and they want to learn it. This is human nature. We starve to be better.
But they see first the results.
Right, exactly.
They must see,
these are not
and then they get
empty
interested.
words. It's like, no, I am the best.
I'm better than the others. No, I don't say I'm better than the others. I just show what I can do.
Yes.
And then they invite me. And I would actually hope the same.
And if we were to do exactly this, which is the most natural way of moving forward, there will be no science says or let's ban this or whatever. It's like we are all moving in the right place, but we are all searching for the way.
Yeah.
Very quickly it can happen.
Yeah. And definitely, because we care about our dogs and our dog's emotional state, we actually would like to go there always with the most dog-friendly way. Don't we? Why wouldn't we?
Yeah, why would not, right?
Yeah. And even that if it's like unfriendly way for the dog would never show good results, really, like in the training and competitions, if it's like unfair. And dogs are dogs are like always showing something in their body language. You know, they can speak very well themselves if the training is good or bad.
It's one of the good things about our sport in a way.
They don't lie.
Because it's like, no, that dog enjoys what we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, dogs don't fake.
And I mean, we've evolved, as I said, like looking at videos from years ago, that's what we knew. That's really what we knew. I had this podcast with Helmut Reiser a few months ago because I don't know, we were looking the same thing, like we're watching like tracking. It was actually with some of my friends here, and let's invite somebody. And it's like, well, who do you invite? Well, let's invite somebody that's good at it. Even if it's a different take, but it's so clearly a good way. And so we invite him. we could invite somebody else if it's not just empty words and salad of who says and what is better, but it's like, you will get my undivided attention. I would want to learn from you. I mean, I'm going to go to whatever place on earth you are. I want to know it, you know?
Yeah.
And we, so much we have advanced, and we're going forward, but we are getting more and more like this split because of some strange.
But I think it's where you aim at, because if you aim for the good of the dog, then you want to interact. But if you want to only have the power, if it's not about the dog's good, if it's about the power and about like war, you know, like your own interest only, not the dog's interest, not the other people's interest, or so, then it's always like, then you want to have the like dividing people, you know. It's like, that's the propaganda, how it has always been working. When you want to make war, you have to build this big wall,
and it's human nature for us to do that. But
I think that because you don't want to like you don't get any, you are not here because of the power. You are here because you love this sport, you love these dogs, and you love just interacting with them. That's why you want to also interact with people to become better in that. But I think that is just something that we have to always look like the benefits, like why somebody is doing something. What's the goal of it? What's the real goal, you know, behind everything?
Like the same, like what happened early this month, you know, like I just cannot, sorry guys, but I can't mention anything more than what I'm going to say, but for right now, but you know, when we were talking with the people that came about making the study, comparing the different styles of training, positive and some aversive training.
Yeah.
And we come to the table and we all have different, a little bit kind of like uneasiness. But then we talk, then we have a drink, then we get the dogs out. And then we realize we're all the same. We're in the same boat.
Yes.
And we had the most amazing time.
Yeah.
And I don't care what the study gonna show. As long as we are on the same path of doing the right thing for the dogs, ultimately. But it's to show you how having this conversation is so cool. Like I try sometimes with them. It's been only one person, and hats off to him. Michael Shikashi, who is like a force-free and with aggression, but it's very well known in that community.
Yeah.
He's the only person that has the courage to sit and talk with me.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful conversation. Guess what? This extreme group, like the extreme group, they're like, oh, you're talking to him, you're giving him a platform to spill this bad stuff and pollute your mind. And it's like, man, we're just talking because we want to be better and we want to understand each other, and you are trying to separate and divide for no reason.
And the crazy thing is that even after like this podcast, I know that in my home country in Finland,
somebody's gonna give it a hard time.
They will be saying that, look what she's doing. There she sits with somebody who is using like a certain kind of like training tools, what we don't accept and what we think is like unacceptable.
Yeah.
And that's what they're going to do. And it is so crazy that because of this, we can get some people get so crazy about it that they're like threatening our lives and
yes,
like
this is
extreme. Is like the extreme, like ultimately that you have to choose that whether you speak what you think and you interact and you try to like make the best for the dogs. And then there are like people who want to like ruin your life because you just happen to love dogs and train them. It's just...
And because you put everybody in the same
table.
cup. It's like,
Yeah.
no, like there is
Yeah.
good and there is bad. Let's focus on, okay, this is good. Let's bring it out and teach the knowledge and then this is good. And that's again going back to why the sport is so evolved in a good way, in my opinion, IGP, to where right now if you have a very good training the dog makes everything, but it's emotionally not in the right mindset, he's not competitive anymore.
Yes.
This is such a brilliant way of saying, hey, yeah, you can do it this way, but that's not what we want.
Yeah.
There is a better way. Okay, well, who can teach me that better way? And then we move on and we move on. But if you say, well, there is a better way, but you can come and learn that.
Yeah.
Or there is a better way, but actually when it's time to show me the better way, it's nothing better. I remember even, that was a very long time when I came to you and we made that seminar, and because of my training without conflict, it kind of fooled some people that it was force-free.
Yes.
And there was this woman, and she's force-free, and she's grabbing the dog, and he's hysterically like yelling and just like red and just foaming. Like, but this is not force-free.
Force-free. Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? I'm like, okay, and I don't remember, but I was like, okay, I can show you a much better way, still force-free, but that's what you're doing is...
Actually.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And it's all a matter of interacting between trainers.
Yeah.
Not dividing. And
yeah. And there must be like so many researches about this, that how good actually it is to sit together and respect the others and just like
yes.
That's the best way.
Reminds me of a older Heineken commercial. I don't know if you've seen.
No.
Very fucking cool commercial where they interview a bunch of, I'm going to put this on the link for everybody, but they interview a bunch of different people. So one is gay, one is lesbian, one is just black, white, just like the most common conflicts that we have, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And they interview them individually, and they're like, no, I would never, this is the last, they're horrible people, and everybody, right? And then they put them together, they split them 2 by 2, and they don't know who is who, but they put them exactly with the person that they dislike you should not exist, right? And they give them some silly tasks like, we gotta build something, but I need you to help me to do it, otherwise it cannot happen. And then they get together, and just beautiful. And then, of course, Heineken, right? But it was a very, very like by the textbooks psychological how we function. It's like this is what makes it, not how you talk on your own. Like you interact with somebody, and next thing you know, at the end of the whole commercial, they're like, well, give me your number because we got to stay in touch now, like it just changed it for half an hour. They changed their perception of each other because of it. And we got to be able to do that.
Yes. And I really love, because in a lot of my seminars, I have like people from agility, from obedience, from rescue. So I don't have only IGP people in my seminars, especially in abroad. And I just love it because in the end, it's all about how to communicate with dogs.
Right.
It's not about what you want to teach with your dog, to teach to your dog or something. And also the respect. And I respect all the trainers all around the world, all sports, whatever they do. Even if you don't even train the dog for the sports, but you are just good with communicating with your dog.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not
That's
about
what's about.
yeah. And I think that we can learn from so many people. Like they often ask me like, who is the person
Mm.
that was your mentor?
Yes. Yeah, that's a
Did you have that person? And I'm like, well, like in my book I'm describing two of them, like who like affected like the trainer I became. I didn't have like one particular person. I would say that that person is like over everybody who was my teacher or something. And I learned from all of them who I trained together. But there was one woman, and I want to give a lot of credit for her. And she wasn't successful like at that time. She had like Briards, you know, Werker de Brie.
yes, of course.
Yes. And I just admired her. Like she had like a dog who has been afraid of like gunshots and afraid of a bit people and everything. And I was admiring her way of communicating with her dog. And she was training in the same group of searching dogs where I trained.
Yeah.
And I just like loved her. Like I always use her as my last helper in searching. Like she was the assistant there because she was so good with her emotions. And I observed how she make her like training with how she talk, her intonations and everything. And it's like that sometimes you don't even have to have somebody who is like better, you know, like more successful than you are. But you just find out that something what she does is very special. And it's something what I start to look more clear, and I was adapting many things, and like many of those funny words I have given, you know, those praise voices this flirt and driving instructor and potty voice and so on, they are not from her, and she would be laughing for them now if she would hear this. Unfortunately, she died in a car accident, but she, you know, many of them were originating like from her, which is completely unaware. And I think it's just like, yeah, I think the best thing is just like interact with people, learn when you see a good dog training, and never stop evolving yourself. Always like, we can always learn.
And we want to. It's not that we don't
we need
want to learn.
It's like
right?
we want to do it because we want to. I mean, like, my motto is like, I want to kind of, like one of them is like, I want to become like better dog trainer every day. Like that's like kind of the ultimate goal. It's not like winning here and there. It's just like that I love this, what I'm doing, and I want to become better of that.
I'm thinking of mine, like from my all-time dog training, like the person that really kind of, and it was similar like your situation, just somebody that just said something one time, and it's like, yeah, you're, it was my first days in Bulgaria in a club, and it's like, yeah, but you
Which dog breed he had? Or she?
I had a, no, the person, she had a shepherd, like it was all at the time, this is like,
German Shepherd, yeah?
Yeah. This was early 80s.
Yeah,
so Eastern Europe, so we all had East German Shepherds and Czech German. That was nobody knew nothing else. And it's just like, you know, you always don't question when something is shown, but it has to make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, you have to ask, because you have to understand it. And if you cannot understand that, they're either not good at explaining or it really doesn't make sense. And that stayed with me, and it's still today, it's one of the most important things. Like when you, I mean, you know, like we can watch now Eric go on the field and we can recognize if something is happening or not. And if something is happening, I know that you and I are going to go at the fence and we're going to be watching. And then we're going to be talking, right? And but it has to, like, I think dog training, the point is to make it so simple that somebody that has no idea understands what's going
impressed,
on.
Yeah. It's like I think it was some of the quotes of Einstein.
Mm.
When he said something
The
like,
6
I don't.
years old, right? The 6 years old. If you cannot explain it to a 6-year-old, you're not good at.
Yeah, I think it was something like very similar, something like that. If you kind of make it like simple enough to understand, you don't actually understand what's going on. Something similar like
exactly.
that. Yeah, exactly like that. If you really know your stuff, you can make it so simple.
Yes.
And that everybody can understand that. And when we show a dog, it's so simple to understand that there is the connection,
Right.
there is the thing. You're like, like we were there, like I think the day before yesterday. Me, Greg, some other. I think we were watching like Yanni doing obedience with Repi, and he was doing like when he did his first retrieve. Greg was like, now I stop talking.
Exactly.
This was like really cool,
Yes, you don't need to be. Science says it's like, no. What are you doing? I need to know.
Yes, that was just like enough to stop you, like make you like breathless, like.
I think we have to keep trying to unite.
Yeah, I think that's it.
I think that's a mission, no matter what.
So what the others are doing, we keep uniting people. Yeah.
Yes.
Those who have the best interest for the dogs and their well-being and for the dog sports, we try to unite them. I think we shouldn't focus on the bad things. We should be like those who focus on we also need kind of like in every society, you need to have the armies and you need to have police. Yeah. That's how the life works. Sometimes you have to put some like limits for sure. But as what we are, I think that we should be the people who are like uniting the others, And
there is a big number in the middle that want to.
Yes.
They're just lost of the two extremes, and it's like.
Yes. I think that we just like should bring people together and give them options you can choose from. Like we say, this is the way how we do it. That's how he does it. That's how she does it. And give a lot of information, educate people, unite people, give them show them what is fun with dogs. And also show how much fun our dogs have with us. And I think that's like something what I think could be like one of our life missions.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really like at this point, I think we both are. I mean, of course, we enjoy competing because that's in us, right? We have to, but I feel that we need to. We have to keep helping the people in the middle that are searching.
Yes. And even the competing, like why you compete, why I compete. Like I compete to actually prove that my method works. It's not that I'm competing against each other.
Yes.
I'm competing that I want to show that the way what I'm doing actually functions.
Yes, that's exactly. That's very cool.
Yeah, and when I go to competitions, to be really honest, is like I don't care whether you win or I'm second. If I'm second, I'm third. I have still proved that the way how I have been like training my dog is like fully functioning.
It's right there.
I'm still in the podium.
Yes.
And so for me, it's like, and I'm always competing against like myself, like how good I can do. I don't compete against others. I don't think about others.
And this is why it's also so cool that we all have our little flavors of how we do things.
Yes.
And of course, I watch you, you watch me, and we take stuff. That's also very cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, you're like, okay, let me test my philosophy. I'm FMBB 2023. Here we go. We do it, we don't do it, but it's a very cool way of hey, I'm putting the work. I think I want to know if what I'm thinking and what I'm trying and what I'm working, if it holds the ground against all those top trainers or it doesn't. And then you adjust and then you make it better. Or then that's the beauty of the sport.
Yes.
Like to have that freedom and like, but then also sit like this and have you come here. And I go to Europe and we train together still. And it's the beauty thing.
But it's also because I have a great respect for people, who can do it. And whose dogs are showing like, the right emotions and who really love dogs.
Right.
Yeah. And it's not like, I don't feel it like they are my competitors. I feel that they are like on my side.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And you want to kind of like, hey, I'm watching.
Yeah.
I'm paying attention.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then there is, sometimes even today, I mean, it's rare, but even today we see some training that is really outdated. It's like, okay, I mean, hopefully you wake up and you grow up and you try better.
Yeah.
Or you stay that way, but if you stay that way, ultimately you're going out. You're not relevant anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the market and the evolution. It's like everybody
I was just
can
going to say
recognize.
that evolution is going like that. Yeah.
Instead of from top down, no, we know a better way.
Yeah.
Nobody buys this. Like we're not, well, I don't know, but it's good. We keep going.
I think that like after this, like I have been so grateful to have like this 1 month here. Like my dog has done like so great progress. I have had like so good dog training moments, but also like other moments like I have been enjoying here so much. And I think and
It
when we
must
talk,
be the Florida.
but it's also about this safe environment,
Right.
that you feel that you kind of like you have people around you who kind of like want the best for you and for your dog. And it's just like it has been like so I don't know, it's like how you call it in English, like a blast or something.
Blast, having a blast,
Like to just like enjoy the dog training, like, and I have been also very happy to see all of you working here with your dogs. And so I think my dog needs now like rest for a few weeks at home.
Which is perfect.
It's perfect when I go to Brazil and then I come home and I'm like fresh to start like training him also in Finland. And it
When do you think, I mean, this spring or summer, you're going to start to putting titles now?
Oh, for sure not.
Oh, not yet?
Oh, for sure
How
not.
do you do it?
I think it's going to take like, I hope I could do like PH in the end of this year.
That's where we're so different. I'll tell you my story.
I know. And I hope, if possible, I think next year I try to bring him to the trials like IGP1, IGP2, and then for the nationals, like Belgian Shepherd nationals. And then I would hope for 2025 I would be in the in a team. So this year for sure not, because I want to make him like so confident, like in all disciplines that, I feel better to go to the competitions.
Not taking much chances, basically,
exactly,
right?
Yeah. And I usually bring my dog to IGP1 when he's like ready for IGP3,
Right.
like emotionally and everything. And so, and then I hope, he's gonna be like,
Maybe tonight when we sit down and for a drink or something, I'll show you my BHs. They're all filmed. Like with Igor, with Django, with...
I really
you
love
would
that.
die when you would like make so much fun. Because it's like if somebody see me and doesn't know me, they're like, that guy has no chance. What is he doing? Where is he going?
I'm the control freak.
So we are exactly like the
the opposite of bringing our dogs to competitions.
Kind of like, you know, I don't know if you know them, but like the Formula One back in, there was Niki Lauda and Senna.
Yeah.
And Senna was the guy that very
Ayrton
spontaneous.
Senna.
It's just like talented, but kind of, you know, and Lauda was like a German. It's like, I know what I'm doing, and I think there's something like this, and that's also what is very interesting and makes the sport interesting, because we all have a different ways.
Yeah. And I think it's like, for me, it's like, I have to be like I was so shocked, like when Yanni was already doing his IGP2, you know, IGP1,
Yes,
IGP2, and with a so young dog, and I'm like, I can't do that, because like, for example, even the guardings in protection, I want to practice this like half year, that I walk and I go back and I walk and I go back and I walk. Yeah, it has to be so solid, because, you know, I feel like that, but it can be also something about the, I mean, I wouldn't like to say this because I come from Finland, where we have the most equal, it's one of the most equal countries, like gender equal countries, in the whole world. But I feel it's like that there is still something like women and men a little bit like this, that if I fail,
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't like failing.
Yeah, no, that's
and
perfect.
I'm like, I have to be like 200% solid, that my dog is like prepared for those situations. And then when I bring my dog to the trial, it's like, it's okay. Like even 1 year later,
right?
You know, and when I count now, my dog is now, right now he became like, he's exactly 2 years and 0 months. So I'm thinking, okay, 2024, he's going to be 3 years. And he's going to be 4.5 years old if I get to the World Championships. He's the same than Helge, you know, like 2025. And Helge was the same, like he was 4.5 years old. And then I have like when he's 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old. And I'm more like, I'm so much more looking forward, like that we would have like the career at competitions with as less mistakes as possible.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Because I feel like the people would just kill me if I would.
Yes, that's the pressure of being already everybody looking up to and everybody expecting certain outcome.
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, it's because,
when I did Django in the 90s, no, it was not 90s, it was early 2000. He was not 3 years old. He was vice champion. So he won the AWDF, the All Breed, he won the Malinois, and he placed second. And he was not even 3 years old. But he was that kind of dog, and maybe I was just like, oh yeah, we're training and we're competing. I didn't take it so seriously, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I would go on the field in the World Championship and everybody's going to get drinks and nobody pays attention. It's like some American, whatever. But then the next one, Rock, it was 2010. Mm-hmm. And I tried to do the same with him. And he just, I feel so bad because he had so much talent, but I just threw him in the lions so soon that he wasn't ready. He was not ready. After the competition, I'm like, okay, that was really stupid. And now I have this ambition, of course, to, because he wasn't broken, he had a very poor show because of my, he's just like Django, and he wasn't. And then somebody offered me a lot of money. And I've never sold a dog. They just did one time. And I sold him. And even today bugs me because I didn't went back with him. Because he had the potential, you know? Mm-hmm. And now, so with me it's very different. It's like I sometimes I feel like I'm taking my time, and sometimes I'm like, well, let's go. And I think with Tarzan now, I'm very kind of more like you. Like I'm no. He's not ready.
2025, we will meet there.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is also that's part of the game, the interesting part of the game.
And I kind of like I can feel you because with Ratu, I was like doing a lot of things that have like a lot of pressure, and I know people said that she can make it like like I tell you my experience like in my first talk, they told me it looks good in the training, but she can never do it in the competitions. Well, I did it. She had like my dog had.
We need this kind of motivation too.
So my dog had like one of the best obediences in his time, like in Finland. You can even count the IGP dogs among, even he was competing in the rescue sports. But he had a very nice like focus engagement. Yeah. And like eye contact that didn't break, That time that was something, in 1990s.
That was big
that was
deal.
a big deal.
Big deal.
And then they said to me, he can do it. She can do it like with a like a showline dog. But when she gets like the Malinois, working like Malinois, her obedience will end up by like the dog will not like let out the ball because when she has a hard
has no
dog,
idea how to do that.
hard dog, And then there was like of course like Helge. And Helge was like super successful, I think, in a Finnish history. He was like 5 times in the podium in the world champs, like vice world champion, third place, vice world champion, and then eventually he was a world champion. And then they said, Helge was a special dog, but she can never do it.
They always can say it.
I know,
there is always a something to
she can do it. She can do it with another dog. And then I had like Ratu, and with Ratu I felt like a lot of pressure, and I really enjoyed his training too. He was like more talented in some things, like he had a good food drive. He was like very natural for tracking, and also easy for obedience with food, like teaching because of the food drive was like better. But he had like, we have often talking about like with my friends about this kind of like a channel, that if there was a channel and in the end there was like a tug, what the dog wants. And Helge's pipe was like very strict. In Ratu's pipe, we had like holes, that things like the sunlight comes and it distracts him a bit from the dog. However, so he had like not that good focus than Helge, his father, but he had like other benefits. For sure. And so I trained him very in hurry. He was easy dog for that because he was adaptive, he had like high food drive, and he was more energetic dog than Helge was. And then I trained him very quickly, and he was like in the World Championships when he was like 3 years old, and he was the youngest dog of the competition. But he won it.
Nice.
And he was like, but I was feeling a little bad because some things I could have like trained better if I would have just waited and giving him more time.
Patient. Right.
And then I had like the next talk was Inspis, which
so
was
it's a little similar to my story.
Yeah, but then the life really hit me hard back by giving me Inspis. It was like you had like no other choice than just wait. Like no other choice. I remember like Peter Scherk watching my training and saying like, Mia, what's this shit?
What are we doing?
When he was like 4 months old, and I went there to train like protection, and he was the kind of low energy dog, a very dominant dog who only enjoyed like fighting with a helper and controlling, but like average food drive and like just low energy. And it was like 37 degrees Celsius hot. Like, I don't know how much it is Fahrenheit, but it's super hot. It's like extreme hot.
It's like in the upper 90s.
It's like the highest you can have in Europe. And he was like, and Peter was like, I want to see your obedience. And I take this 16 weeks old dog from the car, and I'm like, I'm going to show you something. And he's like, I don't really want that piece of food, and I definitely don't want to engage with you. And then eventually I showed him again to him, like when he was like 1.5, like a bit like maybe 15 months old, also summertime, and I was already able to work with prey. And Peter said, like, it looks like really nice, the exercises you do, but every time you give him the toy, he looks like he wants to go to sleep with it.
Like I'm done.
And I have to wake him up again, like really reactive. And it was like, I'm gonna fight with him. But this dog was so good for me because first of all, it showed me like to be more humble. Because before that, I was thinking that people are just so bad with their dogs,
Right.
And I was feeling too superior.
See, there is this thing too, yes.
Yeah, and I think it's important you have that one dog that shows you like that you are not that good. And in every training, I felt like I could feel, that I know like nothing about dog training. Yes. I have to like really work it out.
When your brain never stops
thinking. And eventually I was able to make it. Like building him to like that level in obedience that I wanted to bring him. And of course it looks different than like all my dogs look a little bit different, but there are still some similarities.
Yeah.
And he still was able to do it. And it was like, I think the biggest achievement in my career was like to make him doing excellent obedience in championships.
Right.
Than actually like winning with my previous dogs.
I know.
Because he was so difficult dog. Yeah.
Sometimes these are the things that watching competition or watching scores on working dog doesn't tell the real story.
Yes. Yes. And I remember my helper was saying like, Mia, you could have trained like 3 dogs in the same time. You have trained this one dog and so, but it's important. We have, and I think I'm so glad I got him like in that point of my career, and not like as my first dog, for example.
Right.
Yeah.
We have a lot of dogs now that like, Eva is Helge's daughter, and now Kimba has the same father as yours, and Natalia has full. So they're still like we kind of like certain
type of
things,
dogs,
that it's like a.
It's interesting, yeah. And with my current dog, like with Mahis, I'm training the same things what I was training with Insvis when he was 5 years old. Just because I had to do that in order to get it function. And
how was it, by the way? I just thought of something with like the whole COVID years and him growing up. Like, what was Finland? Was it too restricted with doing things?
We had like a lot of restrictions. Like, for example, I had a training hall. I had to close it because they made it forbidden. Like, and they actually like, the thing was like this, that they made like the southern Finland, like that you are not allowed to go over the border. You couldn't like, they isolated like the northern, like the whole other Finland. And my training hall was like 10 kilometers
on the
other side. And most of my even customers, everybody was coming from the south, but I was just on the other side. And so we had this, then we had this kind of big scandal, like we had some abusive training,
that was very unfortunate. How these are the things that,
and so this was also like affecting. So we had like 2 bad things like at the same time, kind of. So it affected our training possibilities. Like, it was not easy to train, and so I feel like that my young dog is like a little bit similar path than my previous dog was, but for another reason.
Right.
My previous dog was because of his character, and my young dog is because we just didn't train because of many reasons. When the was over, or not over, but when the borders opened, I had like so many postponed seminars that I had to do like a lot of seminars in the next year.
Catch up, yes.
Yeah, and then it was like, I'm just like have been traveling like a lot.
Yeah, there was a lot of dogs. Imagine, like in my opinion, that was the time when Ice was at his best. And
Yes.
I know there was a lot of dogs that were
Who lost their
very
peak.
ready. Yes.
Yes.
And this is like, like you and I know what that means. It's not
I
just this
know.
one time, but like,
I know this so
hopefully
super well.
this doesn't happen again.
Because there was like a super talented brother of my previous dog and very, very good trainer, like of my friend Mia.
Yeah.
And she kind of like, and it was also like a complicated dog, like a little bit looked like Inspis, but just like a little more adaptive one.
Uh-huh.
But like really, it could do like really well in the world champs. And they just couldn't make it because for 2 years. And then eventually the dog was like that
Coming
old.
out, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Hopefully
years-
this doesn't happen again. It's a nightmare when you have and you put all the time and this is my time. No.
Nope. Just nope.
No.
Just nope.
Deal with it.
Exactly. And I was also like qualified twice to the world champs with
Right.
my previous dog.
Yes.
But eventually I was a bit like, well, he would be a bit like a gamble there. We would never know like,
What? Yeah.
what's going to be the outcome. Like, yeah.
But what did we say? 25, right?
2025. That's our year.
Good.
That's so our year.
Mia, thank you for this beautiful conversation. Now,
Thank you, Ivan.
what
Has
we
been
need
great.
to do, we need to go to the fortune tellers,
That's what we need to do.
because there is
There is a truth.
a whole village. I don't know where it is. Do you know? It's like an hour away and supposed to be like this big fortune, like all the palm reading and it's like a whole village.
But we are only going to hear the good news of our
Yeah, we
perfect
should be
future.
careful what we want to know. All right, thank you everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Really, thank you for this.
Thank you so much.
And
It has been a pleasure.
Let's go train
Awesome.
and do some cool things.